Hi, I'm Amanda, a 34-year-old interior designer with a passion for creating beautiful spaces. The soft clinking of dishes and low conversation filled our dining room. Eric, my husband, poured another glass of wine for his dad, John, while his mom, Mary, praised the lamb I had spent the afternoon preparing. The mood was light and almost festive, but I could feel tension building as the annual family vacation discussion was about to start. So, where are we thinking of going this year? Paris? Tokyo? Eric's younger sister Lucy asked excitedly. Peter, the eldest sibling, was busy on his phone, probably looking at flights and hotels. He glanced up and said, "How about somewhere tropical, like Bali or Thailand?" I saw an opening and cleared my throat. Actually, I was thinking you could all come to my vacation home on the coast. It's peaceful, spacious, and right on the beach, a perfect getaway. The room went quiet. John and Mary exchanged looks before Mary responded, her tone polite but dismissive. "Oh, that's a lovely idea, Amanda, but we were thinking of something more exotic this year. Your place is wonderful, but the kids love exploring new countries." Eric agreed, without realizing how it stung. "Yeah, Amanda's place is great for a weekend, but imagine the adventure overseas." I felt hurt but hid it behind a smile. "Of course, I understand, just thought I'd offer." Peter finally looked up from his phone. "Let's vote, then. All for going abroad?" Hands shot up around the table, except mine. "And all for Amanda's place?" I raised my hand, half-heartedly. It was the only one. "Well, that's settled. Thailand it is," Lucy exclaimed, clapping her hands. The rest of the dinner was a blur as they excitedly talked about the trip I was no longer part of. Under the table, Eric squeezed my hand and whispered, "Thanks for offering, honey, we'll go another time. Just the two of us." As they continued talking about temples and food, I quietly withdrew into my thoughts. I had offered a piece of my world, only for it to be turned down. The message was clear: I was good enough to host their dinners, but not their vacations. After dinner, when everyone left and Eric went to his study, I stayed behind to clean up. The family's rejection felt personal, like a judgment on my place among them, but I decided not to let it affect the life Eric and I had built together. They might not fully accept me, but I wouldn't let that define my worth or the love I had for my husband. As I stood alone in the quiet, I realized it might be time to stop trying so hard to win their approval and start living on my own terms. I wasn't sure how things would unfold, but as I turned off the lights and headed to bed, a small, defiant part of me was already planning a summer they wouldn't forget at my beautiful, yet unwanted, beach house. A few days after that family dinner, John called. His usual calm voice now had a touch of desperation. "Hey Amanda, we've hit a snag with our Thailand trip. There was a mix-up with the dates, and everything is fully booked because of a festival. We were wondering if we could take you up on your offer to use your beach house." I paused, still feeling the sting from how they dismissed my offer before, but I was already thinking of a plan. "Oh, that's unfortunate," I said, "but sure, the house is available. I'd be happy to host you all. You're a lifesaver, Amanda, we really appreciate it." After hanging up, I turned to Eric, who was just as surprised as I was. "Now they want to stay at our beach house, after voting it down?" I said, smiling. "Looks like fate has its own plans." My mind was already busy planning a few surprises for their stay. The following weekend, I went to the beach house under the guise of preparing it for the family, but instead, I installed hidden cameras in the common areas, not to spy on them, but to catch their reactions to the small inconveniences I had in store. I set the thermostat to heat the house to a chilly 60 degrees, and I left a note about a problem with the hot water heater, warning them it might take a while to warm up, just giving them a taste of the adventure they wanted. I told Eric, while also programming the smart home system to flicker the lights randomly in the evenings. Eric chuckled, but I could hear the nervousness in his voice. "You're not going to make it too rough, are you? Just a little harmless fun. Let's see if they notice any difference between an exotic getaway and my boring beach house," I replied, grinning. When John, Mary, Peter, and Lucy arrived, I greeted them warmly. "Make yourselves at home. Oh, and just a heads up, the water heater can be a bit quirky. You might need to let it run for a bit to get hot water." "Thanks for letting us use the place, Amanda," Mary said, though there was a hint of reluctance in her voice, likely remembering how they rejected my offer earlier. "No problem at all. I hope you find it relaxing," I said with a smile, hiding the irony in my words. After making sure they were settled in, Eric and I excused ourselves, claiming we had urgent work projects that needed our attention back in the city. Now, it was time to see how their little vacation would play out on its own. I couldn't resist checking the live feed from the cameras. The first incident happened during their first dinner. As Peter was telling one of the family's favorite stories, the lights suddenly went out, plunging the room into confusion. Muffled curses and confused shouts filled the room until Lucy found the candles I had strategically placed in the kitchen.
Guess the house really wants us to have an authentic experience, Lucy joked, though her voice was shaky as the flickering candlelight cast uneasy shadows across her face. Over the next few days, I watched as the family struggled with each little inconvenience. John kept fiddling with the thermostat, eventually giving up and wrapping himself in a sweater I had purposely left on a chair. Mary grumbled about the unpredictable hot water, and their frustration hit a peak when they planned a day out on the water using the boat docked at the house. I had hidden the key and left a cryptic note saying it was somewhere obvious. They spent half the day searching for it, their frustration growing with every failed attempt. As I watched from a distance, I felt a mix of guilt and satisfaction. This was more than just payback, it was a lesson in humility and respect, served in a place they had dismissed so easily. The water heater's gone off again, Mary snapped, her voice filled with frustration as another cold draft swept through the house. Can someone check the thermostat? It's freezing in here, Peter grumbled, shivering as he pulled a blanket tighter around his shoulders. I've reset it 3 times already, he added. It's not working, and these lights won't stop flickering. Lucy sighed, hugging herself to stay warm, clearly worn out by the endless inconveniences. This was supposed to be a relaxing vacation. Amanda, any ideas? Mary's voice crackled over the speakerphone, a mix of irritation and hope. Oh, that's strange. Everything was working fine before you arrived, I replied, keeping my voice calm and detached, as if I wasn't responsible for the chaos. Maybe check the circuit breaker. I'll send someone over when I can, but with the storm, it might take a while. As the storm outside worsened, the family's mood grew even darker. John tried to lift everyone's spirits. Come on, let's not let this ruin the trip. How about some board games by candlelight? Great idea, Dad, except the games are in the basement, which is flooding. Peter shot back sarcastically, making Mary groan in frustration. The storm outside intensified, rattling the windows and doors like it was reflecting the turmoil inside. Lucy searched for a working flashlight just as a gust of wind slammed a window shut, plunging the room into complete darkness. This is ridiculous. We should have stayed home, Mary said, her voice echoing in the pitch-black room, full of fear and frustration. Nobody could have predicted this weather. Mom, let's just make the best of it, Lucy replied, her voice strained as she finally found a weak flashlight. By the next morning, the storm was still raging. John called again, sounding desperate. Amanda, we're thinking of cutting the trip short. The power's out, and now there's a leak in the ceiling. Can you help us get out of here? I'll see what I can do. John, stay safe, and I'll update you soon, I said, feeling a mix of satisfaction and guilt. They were finally getting a taste of what it felt like to be disregarded. When I called back with news of a local who could drive them to the nearest town, the family was packed and ready to leave. Their departure was rushed and frazzled, leaving the once warm and inviting beach house in complete disarray. As their car disappeared down the storm-soaked road, the house fell silent. The cameras kept recording the empty rooms, capturing the aftermath of the week's orchestrated chaos. The family returned home with dampened spirits, leaving behind a trail of bickering and complaints that would surely echo in future awkward family gatherings. My subtle manipulations had led to a cold realization for the family, a reminder of the importance of empathy and respect. Lessons they were now learning after experiencing what they had so casually imposed on others. The dining room was warmly lit, and the table was set as if the beach house incidents were just a distant memory. As John, Mary, Peter, and Lucy settled into their seats, there was a subtle tension in the air. Their expressions showed a mix of relief and lingering stress from their abrupt vacation. Thanks for hosting dinner, Amanda. It's nice to end the trip on a positive note, John said, trying to smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Absolutely, I replied cheerfully. I thought we could all use a little cheering up. I've got a surprise for everyone, some highlights from the vacation. Eric clicked the remote, and the projector came to life. The first clips were harmless, showing their arrival and initial excitement. Laughter filled the room, momentarily easing the awkwardness. But as the video progressed, the mood shifted. Footage of the flickering lights, the thermostat troubles, and their frustrated searches played on the screen. Peter's laughter faded. Wait, why did you record all this, Amanda? Just capturing some memorable moments, I said lightly, but I held their gaze, watching as the realization dawned. The last clip showed their rushed departure in the storm, leaving the room in silence. Mary was the first to speak, her voice tinged with confusion and suspicion. Amanda, was this all some kind of joke to you? It wasn't a joke, I said, my voice calm but serious. It was a lesson in what it feels like to be dismissed and disregarded, just as I was when I offered my home for the vacation. Lucy looked down, her face flushed with shame. Amanda, we didn't realize we made you feel that way.
John cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. We're truly sorry, Amanda. It seems we've taken your kindness for granted. Seeing their genuine remorse, I softened a little, realizing that maybe they had finally understood. I appreciate that, I said. All I ask is for mutual respect. If that's not possible, then maybe we should reconsider our future gatherings. Eric, who had been quiet, finally spoke up in support. We need to make sure everyone feels valued in this family, that's non-negotiable. Mary nodded, her voice sincere. You're right, Amanda, we've learned our lesson, even if it was a hard one. Can we move forward from this? I'm willing to move forward, I replied, but remember, any future disrespect will be a deal-breaker for me. Dinner ended on a thoughtful note, with everyone reflecting on the night's revelations. As John, Mary, Peter, and Lucy said their goodbyes, their words were more heartfelt, showing a real promise to do better in the future. When I was alone with Eric, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Standing up for yourself doesn't always feel good, but it's necessary, I said. And you did it beautifully, Eric reassured me. They'll think twice before overlooking anyone again. The evening closed with a sense of both closure and a new beginning, not just for me, but for the entire family. Respect, once ignored, was now at the forefront of everyone's mind, like a silent promise to guide all future interactions. And that's the end of our story. What do you think? Was Amanda's way of teaching her family a lesson about respect and inclusion justified, or do you think there were better ways to handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more content like this. Your support means a lot.
The email arrived at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was counting down the minutes until my shift ended at the campus coffee shop, wiping down tables and pretending not to notice my hands shaking. The subject line read, "Congratulations, full PhD scholarship in astrophysics." My name is Whitney, and that email was supposed to change everything. I must have read it 15 times, standing there with a dirty rag in one hand and my phone in the other. Full ride, living stipend, research funding, everything I'd worked for since I was that weird kid who'd rather study stars than go to dance class. "Whitney, those tables aren't going to clean themselves." My manager's voice snapped me back to reality. I quickly stuffed my phone in my apron pocket, but I couldn't stop smiling. The moment my shift ended, I called my best friend Peyton. "I got it," I said, my voice barely containing the excitement. "I actually got it." "The Harrison Fellowship? Holy shit, Whit, that's incredible." Peyton's squeal made me hold the phone away from my ear. "We have to celebrate, like right now." "I need to tell my family first," I said, already feeling my stomach knot. "Mom's been hounding me about contributing more to household expenses. This will finally prove I'm not wasting my time." "Your mom wouldn't know real success if it hit her in the face with a physics textbook," Peyton muttered. "But go. Tell them. Just call me after?" I should have listened to the warning in her voice. When I got home, my mother Sandra was in the kitchen with my sister Yara, both hunched over Yara's laptop. They were wearing matching white silk blouses, probably another of Mom's power dressing lectures in progress. "Mom, Yara, I have amazing news," I started, clutching my phone like a lifeline. "Oh, honey, so do we." Mom's perfectly lined lips curved into a smile. "Yara's finally figured out her career path. Show her, sweetie." Yara spun the laptop around. The screen showed a pastel-colored website mock-up with her face plastered across it. "I'm starting a lifestyle blog. Mom's gonna help me build my brand. We're calling it Yara's Young Living." "That's great," I managed. "But I actually won something really important today." "The best part," Mom interrupted, "is that we already have investors interested. Well, potentially interested. We just need some startup capital to really make it professional." My phone suddenly felt heavy in my hand. "Mom, I got the Harrison Fellowship. Full PhD funding. It's one of the most prestigious." "Perfect timing." Mom clapped her hands together. "That's exactly what we needed to hear." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What?" "Well, you're always saying you want to help the family more," she continued. "This is your chance. We can use that grant money to launch Yara's blog properly. Get her the right equipment, hire a real web designer, maybe even a small studio space." The room started spinning. "The fellowship money is for my research. My PhD. It's not, you can't just—" "Oh, please." Yara rolled her eyes. "Anyone can study stars on YouTube these days. This is a real business opportunity. Besides, you're good at school stuff. You can just apply for another scholarship next year." "I worked 3 jobs to put myself through my master's," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant. "This fellowship is everything I've worked for." "Don't be selfish, Whitney." Mom's voice took on that sharp edge I knew too well. "Family supports family. Your father and I agree. This is the best use of those funds. Yara has real potential to be an influencer. Do you know how much money that could mean for all of us?" I looked at my sister, tapping away at her laptop, probably already planning what designer bags to feature in her first post. I looked at my mother, who had never once attended any of my academic award ceremonies, but drove 6 hours to be at Yara's high school cheerleading competitions. Something inside me shifted, like a star collapsing in on itself, ready to explode. "You're right," I heard myself say. "Family supports. Family." Mom's face lit up. "I knew you'd understand. You've always been our practical girl." My phone buzzed. An email from Dean Holmes. "Regarding your acceptance speech for the award ceremony next month. The press will be there, and we'd love you to say a few words about family support and achievement." I smiled. Not my usual careful, peacekeeping smile, but something else entirely. "Actually," I said, "I have some ideas about how we can make this work for everyone." Mom and Yara were already back to discussing blog aesthetics, not even noticing the change in my voice. That was fine. They'd notice soon enough. I stepped out of the kitchen and texted Peyton. "Remember when you said revenge is best served cold? Let's talk about temperature." "You're seriously going to let them do this?" Peyton paced around my tiny apartment, her coffee going cold on my desk. "We need to call the university. Report them. Something." I was sprawled on my bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone. "Look at this," I said, holding up a picture from my high school graduation. "See who's missing?" Peyton squinted. "Your whole family?" Yara had a modeling callback that day. Mom said we could celebrate another time. I laughed, but it came out hollow. "We never did. That's messed up, Whit." "You know what's really messed up?" I sat up, opening my laptop. "Check this out." I pulled up Yara's Instagram story from an hour ago. There she was, posing with 3 shopping bags from luxury brands, caption reading, "Building my empire. Thanks, fam, for believing in me. Archisarm, boss lady, entrepreneur life." She's already spending the money? Peyton's jaw dropped. "But the fellowship hasn't even—" "Mom gave her access to a credit card. They're counting on my scholarship to cover it." I closed the laptop. "But here's the thing. I haven't signed anything yet." Peyton stopped pacing. "What are you thinking?" I pulled out my phone and played a voice recording from dinner last night. Mom's voice filled the room. "Whitney, honey, you're just not photogenic enough for the family brand. Stick to your little space studies. Leave the real business to your sister." I've been recording everything, I said. Every conversation, every dismissal, every time they've planned how to spend my scholarship money. And I've been taking screenshots of all Yara's posts about her family-funded business venture. The award ceremony, Peyton breathed. You're going to expose them. Dean Holmes wants me to talk about family support. I smiled. I'm going to give him exactly what he asked for. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Dinner tonight. Bring your laptop so we can transfer the scholarship details to my account. Watch this, I said to Peyton, dialing Mom's number on speaker. Whitney, I was just about to call. Mom? I can't make dinner. I have a meeting with Dean Holmes about the ceremony. Oh. Her tone changed instantly. The ceremony? Will there be press? Local news, university papers, some social media influencers. I caught Peyton's eye and winked. Influencers? Yara should definitely attend. This could be perfect exposure for her blog launch. Great idea, Mom. I'll make sure she gets a special mention in my speech. After hanging up, Peyton stared at me. You're scary when you're strategic. I learned from the best. I pulled up an old video on my phone. 12-year-old me at a science fair, first place ribbon in hand, while Mom coached Yara on her pageant walk in the background. Your dad really never stood up for you? Peyton asked softly. Dad? I snorted. Watch this. I played another recording. My father's voice. Whitney, this PhD thing? Your mother might be right. We need to think about the family's future. Yara has a real chance at success here. Bastard, Peyton muttered. My phone buzzed again. An email from Juliet Dixon, university blogger. Looking for comment on rumors about scholarship fund reallocation. Perfect, I whispered. What's perfect? The dominoes are starting to fall. I drafted a quick reply. Hi, Juliet. I'd love to discuss this after the award ceremony. I think you'll find it quite newsworthy. Peyton grabbed my arm. Whitney, are you sure about this? Once you do this, there's no going back. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a stack of papers. Years of therapy notes, documenting the slow erosion of my self-worth. Notes about missing my own graduation, about working overtime shifts while Yara got designer clothes, about crying in my car after every family dinner. They never thought I was worth noticing, I said, my voice steady. So I'm going to make myself impossible to ignore. My phone lit up with a notification. Yara had just posted another Instagram story. She was posing in front of a mirror in an expensive outfit, caption reading, "Can't wait to share my success story. Sometimes the universe just knows who deserves to shine." Peyton read it over my shoulder and squeezed my hand. The universe, huh? I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear Dean Holmes, regarding my acceptance speech. You know what's funny? I said, fingers flying across the keyboard. Mom always said I wasn't camera ready enough for the family brand. But in 2 weeks, we're all going to be very, very public. The sun was setting outside my window, casting long shadows across my astronomy textbooks and star charts. Somewhere out there, cosmic justice was aligning perfectly with earthly revenge. And I was ready to be the architect of both. Welcome to Yara's Young Living launch party. My sister's voice echoed through the rented event space, making me wince. She stood on a small stage, wearing what had to be at least $2,000 worth of designer clothes. I'm so blessed to announce that, thanks to my family's investment in female entrepreneurship, my dream is becoming reality. I stood in the back, recording everything on my phone. Mom hovered near Yara, beaming with pride, while Dad nursed a whiskey at the open bar. The room was filled with local social media wannabes and Mom's life coaching clients. Did she seriously just call academic theft female entrepreneurship? Peyton whispered beside me. Shh, wait for it. Yara flipped her hair, practicing the move she'd been perfecting all week. And the best part? Next week, I'll be attending a prestigious university ceremony as a special guest. Can't wait to share that journey with all my future followers. I pressed stop on the recording and texted it to Juliet with a simple message. Thought you might find this interesting. Stardaughter. Stardaughter? Peyton raised an eyebrow. Anonymous sources need catchy names. My phone buzzed immediately with Juliet's reply. This connects perfectly with the rumors about misappropriated scholarship funds. Care to elaborate? Before I could respond, Mom appeared in front of me. Whitney, stop hiding back here. Come congratulate your sister properly. Wouldn't want to steal her spotlight, I said, but Mom was already dragging me forward. Look who finally decided to join the celebration, Yara squealed, pulling me into a tight hug for her Instagram story. My brilliant big sister. She's like so smart with numbers and stuff. She's basically our CFO. I felt my smile freeze. What did you just say? Oh, I've been telling everyone how you're handling the financial side of the blog, Yara said breezily. It sounds better than just saying we're using your school money. I pulled away, my hands shaking. Excuse me, I need some air. Outside, I leaned against the wall, typing furiously to Juliet. Check your email in 5 minutes. Sending you something interesting about financial misrepresentation. Whitney? Dad's voice made me jump. He stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Your mother wants to know if you've started the scholarship transfer process yet. Actually, Dad, I wanted to ask you something. I hit record on my phone. Do you remember my 8th grade science fair, when I built that working model of the solar system? He shifted uneasily. That was a long time ago. I stayed up for 3 nights working on it. Won first place. You promised you'd come, but Yara had a dance recital that day. Whitney, that's not fair. Your sister needed support? Like she needs it now? I met his eyes. Tell me, Dad, does it bother you at all that they're taking my scholarship money? He looked away. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family. You mean I have to make sacrifices for family? Don't make this difficult, he muttered, turning to go back inside. Dad? I called after him. I'm giving a speech at the ceremony next week. Will you be there? His silence was the only answer I needed. I stopped the recording and added it to my growing collection. Inside, Yara was showing off her new blog layout on a giant screen. And this section will be all about turning your dreams into reality. I'm living proof that with family support, anything is possible. My phone buzzed. Juliet again. This story is getting bigger than expected. University PR is asking questions. Want to go on record? Not yet, I typed back, but keep next Thursday evening free. Trust me. Whitney, Mom's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. Come help your sister explain how we're financing her venture. These people want to know about our family's commitment to supporting young entrepreneurs. I walked to the front of the room, taking the microphone Yara held out. The crowd looked at me expectantly. Mom beamed. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Of course, I said sweetly. I'd love to practice public speaking. After all, I have a pretty important speech to give next week. Yara grabbed the mic back quickly. Oh my God, yes. I'm so excited to be there supporting my sister at her little university thing. It's going to be perfect content for my blog's launch. I watched her pose for more photos. Watched Mom arrange her hair just so. Watched Dad pretend not to notice me standing there. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, loaded with weeks of evidence, all leading to one moment. Perfect content, I whispered to myself. You have no idea. Later that night, I sat at my desk, finalizing my speech. The first line read, Family support comes in many forms. Let me tell you about mine. The cursor blinked steadily, like a countdown to detonation. Miss Douglas, your speech draft is interesting. Dean Holmes peered at me over his reading glasses. Particularly this section about unconventional family support. I sat perfectly still in his office, hands folded in my lap. I wanted to be honest about my journey. Dean Holmes? Yes, well. He shuffled the papers. The press will be there. The mayor. Several prominent donors. We want to keep things uplifting. Trust me, I smiled. People won't forget this speech. A knock at the door interrupted us. Juliet poked her head in. Dean Holmes? Sorry to interrupt, but I need a quote about the scholarship allocation rumors circulating on campus. The dean frowned. What rumors? Just some chatter about fellowship funds being diverted to private business ventures. Juliet's eyes met mine briefly. I'm sure it's nothing. Absolutely not. Dean Holmes straightened in his chair. Our scholarships are strictly monitored. Miss Douglas, have you heard anything about this? Actually, I pulled out my phone. My sister just posted something interesting about that. I showed them Yara's latest Instagram story. A boomerang of her waving a credit card. Caption reading, "Shopping spree for the blog. Thanks, a Whitney Douglas for believing in me." Mesmerized. Sister investor. Dean Holmes's face darkened. Miss Douglas, is there something we should discuss? Can we talk after the ceremony? I asked innocently. I wouldn't want anything to overshadow the event. After leaving his office, Juliet cornered me in the hallway. You're planning something big, aren't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. Please, she scoffed. I've been investigating this for weeks. The anonymous tips, the perfectly timed evidence drops. Your star daughter. I started walking faster. Prove it. I don't need to. She matched my pace. But I want the exclusive when it all comes out. My phone buzzed. Mom had sent a family group text. Emergency family meeting tonight. Whitney, bring all scholarship paperwork. Sorry, I told Juliet. Family emergency. I found Peyton in the physics lab. They're getting nervous, I said, showing her the text. Mom's trying to rush the transfer. What are you going to do? Watch this. I called Mom on speaker. Whitney, where are you? We need those papers tonight. Can't make it, Mom. Dean Holmes needs me to rehearse my speech. He says it's crucial to mention family support, how you and Dad always believed in my dreams. A pause. Well, I suppose the papers can wait until tomorrow. Will there be photographers at this rehearsal? Oh yes, I said. They're doing a whole feature. You know, local family produces brilliant scientist kind of thing. Perfect. Yara needs more press for her blog launch. We'll all come watch. After hanging up, Peyton stared at me. You're evil. I learned from the best. I pulled up Mom's social media, where she'd already posted about attending her gifted daughter's ceremony next week. They're so focused on the spotlight, they can't see the trap. My phone chimed with a text from Dad. Your mother's excited about the ceremony. Don't disappoint her. Don't disappoint her? I showed Peyton. 26 years of straight A's, 3 published papers, and a prestigious fellowship wasn't enough. But Yara posts one duck-faced selfie and gets a standing ovation. Speaking of Yara, Peyton pointed to my laptop screen, where my sister's blog had gone live. The header read, "From academic family to fashion fame, my journey to success." I clicked through the posts. Yara had written a whole article about redirecting unused educational funds to empower female entrepreneurs. There were photos of her posing with my acceptance letter, calling it her seed money moment. She's actually documenting the theft, Peyton whispered. This is insane. No, I said, downloading everything. This is evidence. My phone lit up again. Dean Holmes. Miss Douglas, the university board has questions about some concerning social media posts. Please see me first thing tomorrow. I texted back. Of course, Dean Holmes. I'll explain everything at the ceremony. It'll make a much better story that way. Peyton read over my shoulder. Whitney, once you do this. I know. I pulled up my speech draft. But look what Mom posted 2 years ago when I got my master's degree. The post showed Yara in a bikini. So proud of my baby girl booking her first modeling job. Sorry we missed your graduation thing, Whitney. Family priorities. They made their choice, I said, turning back to my laptop. Now I'm making mine. I opened my email to find an invitation from the university PR team. Ceremony run through tomorrow, family photo opportunity and press preview. Perfect. Let them all come. Let them pose and preen and practice their camera angles. After all, every star burns brightest right before it explodes. Let's run through it one more time, Dean Holmes said, standing at the podium. After the introduction, you'll speak about your research, then transition into thanking your support system. The empty auditorium echoed with our voices. In 2 days, these seats would be filled with academics, journalists, and my family, all unwitting participants in what I'd planned. Actually, I said, adjusting my notes, I've made some changes to that section. I cleared my throat and began reading. Success isn't just about individual achievement. Sometimes it's about what others take from you. What they're willing to sacrifice. Or rather, who they're willing to sacrifice. Dean Holmes frowned. That's rather pointed. Don't worry, I smiled. I'm saving the best parts for the actual ceremony. My phone buzzed. Juliet had sent me a draft of her article. Academic Scandal or Family Fraud. The Dark Side of Success. Miss Douglas, Dean Holmes' voice pulled me back. Is there something you need to tell me about your family situation? Before I could answer, the auditorium doors burst open. Mom and Yara strode in, designer bags swinging. Oh good, we're just in time for rehearsal, Mom called out. Yara needs to practice her entrance for the ceremony. Dean Holmes blinked. Her entrance? For the family recognition portion, Yara explained, already pulling out her phone to film the stage. I'm doing a whole series on my blog about supporting my sister's little science thing. I watched Dean Holmes's expression shift from confusion to concern. Miss Douglas, this is an academic award ceremony, not a social media event. But we've already announced it to all my followers, Yara pouted. Mom, tell him about our plans. Plans? I asked innocently. You mean like the plans for my scholarship money? The room went silent. Dean Holmes turned to me sharply. What about your scholarship money? Oh, Whitney's just being dramatic, Mom laughed nervously. We're simply helping her manage her finances. By funding Yara's blog? I pulled out my phone and played one of my recordings. Mom's voice filled the auditorium. Who cares about space research? Yara's blog could make us all rich. Mom's face went white. Where did you get that? The same place I got these. I handed Dean Holmes a folder. Screenshots of Yara's posts about using academic funding for her business, bank statements showing attempted transfers, and recordings of multiple conversations about misappropriating scholarship money. Whitney, Mom hissed. What are you doing? My job, I said calmly. As the family CFO. Isn't that what Yara's been calling me on her blog? Dean Holmes flipped through the documents, his face growing darker. Mrs. Douglas, this is a very serious matter. It's just a family misunderstanding, Mom said quickly. Whitney, tell him you're okay with helping your sister. Am I? I turned to face her. Like I was okay with you missing my graduation? Or selling my telescope to buy Yara's prom dress? Or telling me I wasn't pretty enough to matter? That's not fair. Yara stepped forward. You're just jealous because I'm actually doing something with my life. Miss Douglas, Dean Holmes interrupted. I think we need to have a formal meeting about this. Now. No need, I said. Everything will be clear at the ceremony. I turned to my mother and sister. You'll be there, right? Front row, just like you promised all my followers. Mom grabbed my arm. Whatever you're planning, stop it right now. Think about what this could do to our family's reputation. I pulled away. You mean like what you did to my future? Your father will hear about this, she threatened. Good. I gathered my notes. Tell him to bring his camera. Wouldn't want to miss another milestone moment. As they stormed out, Dean Holmes turned to me. Miss Douglas, if what's in these documents is true, it is. I handed him one final paper, my speech, and on Thursday, everyone will know it. He read the first page, his eyes widening. This is The truth, I finished. Isn't that what academic integrity is all about? After leaving the auditorium, I found Peyton waiting outside. How'd it go? I showed her the string of angry texts already flooding my phone. Phase 1. Complete. And Phase 2? I pulled up Yara's latest blog post, a preview of her ceremony outfit with the caption, "Can't wait to share my biggest announcement yet. Family success story coming soon." Phase 2, I said, is letting them dig their own graves. By Thursday, they'll have posted so much evidence of their plans, they won't be able to deny anything. My phone buzzed again. Juliet. Stories ready to go live right after your speech. This is going to be nuclear. I looked up at the darkening sky, thinking about supernovas and cosmic justice. Good, I texted back. Some things deserve to burn. The night before the ceremony, I found myself parked outside my parents' house. Through the window, I could see Yara doing a live stream, probably practicing her supportive sister routine for tomorrow. Mom hovered nearby, adjusting lights and offering camera angles. My phone buzzed. Peyton, you don't have to do this last part, but I did. I needed to give my father one final chance. I rang the doorbell. Dad answered, whiskey glass in hand. Whitney, your mother's been trying to reach you all day. Can we talk? Just us? He glanced back at Mom and Yara, then stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind him. I hit record on my phone. Dad, do you remember when I was 10 and you bought me that beginner's telescope? He shifted uncomfortably. Whitney, you said the stars were like dreams, distant but achievable if you worked hard enough. I pulled out my acceptance letter. Well, I worked hard. I achieved it. And now they're taking it away. It's complicated, he muttered. No, it's really not. I moved closer. You're my father. Just once, I need you to be on my side. He took a long sip of whiskey. What do you want me to say? Say you believe in me. Say I deserve this scholarship. Say you'll stop them. The silence stretched between us like a growing black hole, consuming everything in its path. Finally he spoke. Your mother knows what's best for the family. I stopped the recording. You know what? You're right. She does know best. And tomorrow, everyone else will know too. Back in my car, I texted Juliet. Got the final piece. Dad's silence speaks volumes. My phone immediately lit up with notifications. Yara had posted a teaser video for her blog. The origin story. How my sister's academic achievement launched my empire. The video showed clips of her going through my room, holding up my acceptance letter like a prop. Sometimes the universe has bigger plans than just studying stars. Can't wait to share our family's amazing journey at tomorrow's ceremony. I forwarded it to Dean Holmes with a simple message. For context, his reply came quickly. Security has been notified about potential disruptions tomorrow. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Instead of answering, I drove to the university. The auditorium was dark, but I could see the stage where everything would unfold in less than 24 hours. My phone rang. Mom. Where are you? She demanded. We need to coordinate outfits for tomorrow's photos. I'm actually working on my speech, I said calmly. Oh, good. Make sure to mention how the family's always supported your dreams. It'll be perfect content for Yara's blog launch. I sat in the empty auditorium, letting her words wash over me. Don't worry, Mom. I won't forget to mention anything. That's my practical girl. Oh, and we've invited some investors to watch. They're very interested in our family's entrepreneurial spirit. Perfect, I said. The more witnesses, the better. After hanging up, I pulled out my speech. The pages were worn from constant revision, each word carefully chosen for maximum impact. Peyton called next. Last chance to back out. Did you see Yara's latest post? Yeah. From academic achievement to influencer empire. A sister's gift. She's really not subtle. Neither am I. I read her the opening lines of my speech. Sometimes the brightest stars are born from cosmic violence. Holy shit, Peyton whispered. You're really going to do it. My phone buzzed with another notification. Mom had posted on her life coaching page. Proud to announce my daughter's academic award ceremony tomorrow. But the real story is how one family turned educational opportunity into entrepreneurial success. Proud mama, shark family first. I screenshot it and sent it to Juliet. One more for the article. The security guard poked his head in. Building's closing, miss. I gathered my things, taking one last look at the stage. Tomorrow it would be filled with cameras, reporters, academic officials, all there to witness what my family thought would be their crowning achievement. Walking to my car, I got a final text from Dad. Your mother's upset you missed outfit coordination. Don't make tomorrow difficult. I typed back, don't worry, Dad. I'll make sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. At home, I laid out my clothes for tomorrow. Not the designer outfit Mom wanted, but my own choice. A professional black dress, like the event horizon of a black hole. One last notification lit up my phone, Yara posting her pre-ceremony ritual skincare routine, ending with, can't wait to share our family's biggest announcement yet. Sometimes the best dreams are the ones you steal. I mean, share. Sister success. Arksh, family empire. I turned off my phone and looked out my window at the night sky. Tomorrow, every star would align perfectly, and my family would finally see me shine. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Camera flashes popped like distant stars as Mom positioned Yara in the front row, both wearing coordinated designer outfits. Dad sat quietly beside them, already looking like he wanted to escape. Ready? Peyton squeezed my hand backstage. I nodded, watching Juliet set up her laptop in the press section. Dean Holmes approached the podium, his voice filling the space. Today, we celebrate exceptional achievement in astrophysics. Our Harrison Fellowship recipient has shown remarkable dedication to her field. Mom was already filming with her phone, whispering to Yara about angles. I caught fragments of their conversation. Perfect for the blog launch, family success story, and now, Dean Holmes continued, I present our honored scholar, Whitney. The spotlight hit me as I walked to the podium. Camera flashes intensified. Yara was live streaming, narrating in her practiced influencer voice. My brilliant sister's moment. Can't wait to share our amazing news. I adjusted the microphone and smiled. Thank you, Dean Holmes. You know, when I first discovered my passion for astrophysics, I learned that the most fascinating celestial events often involve destruction. Supernovas, for instance, are actually stars exploding, creating something new from their own demolition. Mom's smile faltered slightly. My family taught me a lot about destruction, I continued, my voice steady. They taught me that dreams can be stolen, that achievement can be hijacked, and that family support? Well, let me show you what that looks like. I nodded to the tech booth. The screen behind me lit up with Yara's social media posts, all the ones about redirecting my scholarship money, complete with timestamps and dollar amounts. While I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school, my sister was already spending my fellowship money on her blog launch, money I hadn't even received yet. The audience stirred. Cameras turned toward my family. Mom's face had gone pale. But don't take my word for it. I played the audio recordings. Mom's voice filled the auditorium, talking about using my scholarship for Yara's empire. Dad's silence when I begged for help. Yara laughing about how anyone can study stars on YouTube. Whitney, stop this right now. Mom stood up, her voice shrill. Why? Isn't this the publicity you wanted? I clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of their social media announcements about today. You wanted everyone to witness our family's success story. Well, here it is. Yara's live stream was still running. Hundreds of viewers watched as she tried to grab her phone, fumbling to end the broadcast. The Harrison Fellowship, I continued, is meant to fund research that could help us understand our universe. Instead, My family decided it should fund designer clothes and Instagram props. Dean Holmes had moved to the edge of the stage, his face a mix of horror and vindication. Juliet's fingers flew across her keyboard. "But here's the real cosmic irony," I said, my voice growing stronger. "While they were so busy planning how to spend my scholarship money, they forgot one crucial detail. I never signed it over to them. The funding is still mine. Every penny." The audience gasped. Mom jumped up again. "You ungrateful—" "Security," Dean Holmes called quietly. "And now," I continued as two guards approached my family, "I'd like to actually talk about astrophysics, because unlike some people, I earned my place here." "You're destroying this family," Mom shouted as she was escorted out. "No, Mom. You did that all on your own." Yara tried to rush the stage, but security caught her. Her designer heel snapped as she struggled, screaming about her ruined blog launch. Dad just sat there, staring into his lap. I turned back to the audience. "To the aspiring scientists out there, your dreams matter. Don't let anyone steal your light." The room erupted in applause. Dean Holmes retook the podium, announcing an immediate investigation into scholarship fraud attempts. Journalists swarmed forward, cameras flashing. Through the chaos, I locked eyes with my father. For the first time, he looked small. Afterward, in Dean Holmes's office, he shook my hand. That was either the bravest or most reckless thing I've ever seen at this university. Why not both? I smiled weakly. My phone was flooded with notifications. Juliet's article had already gone viral. Yara's live stream had ended up capturing everything, her meltdown included. Mom's life coaching page was being flooded with comments. "What happens now?" Peyton asked as we left the building. I looked up at the darkening sky, where the first stars were becoming visible. Now? I finally get to study them in peace. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Dad. I should have spoken up. "Yes," I typed back. "You should have." Then I turned off my phone, linked arms with Peyton, and walked away from the auditorium. Behind me, camera flashes continued to pop like dying stars, capturing the aftermath of my own personal supernova. Some things had to be destroyed before they could be rebuilt. The telescope whirred softly as I adjusted its position on my apartment balcony. Jupiter was particularly bright tonight, its moons clearly visible against the black canvas of space. My phone buzzed on the table. Another message from Mom, probably her 10th today. I hadn't read any of them since the ceremony last week. The headlines were enough. Social media scandal rocks university award ceremony. Academic theft attempt exposed live. Influencer dreams crushed by sister's revenge. A knock at my door interrupted my stargazing. "Your father's downstairs," Peyton said when I opened it. Should I tell him to leave? I hesitated. No, send him up. Dad looked older than he had at the ceremony, more worn. He stood awkwardly in my doorway, holding a familiar box. "Is that—" "Your old telescope," he said quietly. "The one I bought you when you were 10. Your mother wanted to sell it, but I kept it." I took the box, feeling its familiar weight. "Why are you here, Dad?" "Your mother's life coaching clients all quit. Yara's blog sponsors pulled out. They're saying I enabled everything by staying silent." He rubbed his face. "They're right. That's not an answer." He walked to my balcony, looking at my new research-grade telescope. "Remember when you first saw Saturn's rings through the old telescope? You couldn't stop talking about them for weeks. And you couldn't stop apologizing to Mom for encouraging my weird obsession," I added. "I was wrong," he said simply. "About everything." My phone buzzed again. "Juliet. University investigation complete. Your family's attempt to access the fellowship funds is now a case study in academic ethics. They're not speaking to me," Dad continued. "Your mother and sister. They blame me for not stopping you. Funny how they still don't blame themselves." He picked up a framed photo from my desk. Me at my master's graduation, alone. I should have been there. Yes, you should have. Whitney. He turned to face me. I know it's too late, but I'm proud of you. Not just for the fellowship, but for standing up to us. To me. The telescope beeped, indicating it had found its target. Jupiter filled the eyepiece, perfect and clear. Want to see something amazing? I asked. He looked through the telescope, gasping softly. Is that Europa? I said. One of Jupiter's moons. Scientists think it might harbor life beneath its icy surface. That's what my research will focus on. Your research, he repeated. Not Yara's blog empire. Look again, I told him. See how the light reflects off the ice? Some things can only be seen clearly from a distance. My phone lit up with a new email. Dean Holmes. Research position abroad. Interested? Dad stepped back from the telescope. I should go. Your mother will be wondering where I am. Will she? Or will Yara need another Instagram photographer? He flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot of things, Dad. But you know what? So do I. I showed him the email from Dean Holmes. I'm taking this position. I'm going to study those moons, publish my research, and maybe discover something extraordinary. And I'm doing it without looking back. I understand, he said, moving toward the door. Then he paused. That old telescope, it still works. Maybe someone else needs to see the stars for the first time. After he left, I opened the box. Inside, wrapped in old newspapers, was my first telescope, and underneath it, a stack of papers. Every academic award I'd ever won, every newspaper clipping about my achievements, every photo he'd secretly kept. Peyton called. You okay? They lost everything they wanted, I said, looking through the telescope one last time, and I kept everything I earned. Was it worth it? I thought about Mom's empty coaching practice, Yara's failed influencer career, Dad's quiet collection of my accomplishments. I thought about supernovas and new stars being born from destruction. You know what Europa teaches us? I said, instead of answering. Sometimes the most interesting discoveries are hidden beneath the surface. You just have to be brave enough to break through the ice. My phone buzzed with one final notification. Dad had posted for the first time since the ceremony. Proud of my daughter, the astrophysicist. I should have said that years ago. I turned back to my telescope, adjusting it slightly. Europa came into perfect focus, its icy surface glinting like justice served cold. Some people search the stars for answers. I found mine by becoming one, bright, distant, and finally, completely free.
I always thought my twin sister Elena and I shared everything, including our secrets. That was until I found the folder on her old laptop, and my whole world imploded. My name is Andrea, and up until last week, I thought I had the perfect life. A successful career in marketing, a handsome husband named Ken who doted on me, and a close-knit family that most people would envy. Sure, Elena and I had our differences, but that's normal for sisters, right? Especially when one of them has been struggling with infertility for years. Please, Andrea, you're my only hope. Elena pleaded over coffee at our weekly sister date. Her hands trembled as she clutched her mug. The doctors say I can't carry to term, and surrogacy agencies are so expensive. I stirred my latte, watching the foam swirl. Elena, that's a huge ask. You're my twin. Who else could I trust with this? Her eyes welled up with tears. Ken says you'd be perfect for it too. I nearly choked on my drink. You discussed this with Ken before talking to me? She waved dismissively. He's family too, and he's so supportive of the idea. Of course he was. My husband had always been closer to Elena than most brothers-in-law. Sometimes I wondered if he spent more time texting her than me. I'll think about it, I said finally, more to stop her pleading than anything else. That evening, while cleaning out our spare room, the one Elena insisted would make a perfect nursery, I found her old laptop. She'd left it here months ago, claiming it was too slow to use anymore. I powered it up, thinking I might find some old photos we could use for Mom's upcoming birthday slideshow. Instead, I found the folder labeled Baby Plan. My fingers hovered over the trackpad. I shouldn't snoop, but something about the way Elena had brought up surrogacy today felt off. The way Ken had been acting strange lately, taking private calls and working late. I clicked. The first email made my blood run cold. From Ken to Elena. Subject: Re-inheritance timeline. The lawyer confirmed. Once Andrea's pregnant, the trust fund kicks in. We just need to make sure she agrees to the surrogacy before she finds out about the inheritance. If she knows about the money first, she might get suspicious. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of correspondence between my husband and sister. Plans, schemes, ways to manipulate me into carrying Elena's baby. Not out of love, but because our grandmother's will had a bizarre clause about continuing the family line. The door downstairs clicked open. "Andrea, I'm home." I slammed the laptop shut, my heart pounding. Ken's footsteps echoed up the stairs. "There you are." He appeared in the doorway, smiling that smile I used to trust. "How was coffee with Elena?" I forced myself to smile back, though my insides were screaming. "Fine, the usual." He sat beside me on the floor, picking up a photo album. "You know, I've been thinking about what Elena asked. About the surrogacy." "Have you?" My voice sounded strange, even to my own ears. "I think we should do it. Help family, you know?" He squeezed my hand. Plus, it would be good practice for when we have our own. I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop at him, to call Elena and demand answers. Instead, I nodded slowly, buying time. "Maybe you're right." My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Have you thought more about what we discussed? Time is really of the essence here." I looked at Ken, still flipping through photos and pointing out memories we'd shared. Memories that now felt tainted. Then at my phone, where Elena's message glowed accusingly. They wanted to use my body, my life, for money. My own sister and husband had been plotting behind my back for months. Fine. They wanted to play games. I could play too. I typed back, "Actually, I've been thinking, maybe we should discuss this more. Come over for dinner tomorrow?" Ken beamed when I showed him the message. "That's my girl. Always thinking of family first." I smiled back, but inside I was already plotting. They thought they had me figured out, thought they could manipulate me into being their perfect little surrogate. But they'd forgotten one crucial thing. Twins don't just share DNA. We share cunning. And I'd learned from the best how to keep secrets. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Every time I rolled over, I found Ken's sleeping face next to me, the face of a man I thought I knew. The same face that had been scheming with my sister behind my back. At 3 a.m., I crept back to the spare room and opened Elena's laptop again. This time, I dug deeper. "We need to make sure she doesn't find out about Grandma Rose's trust fund until after she's pregnant," Elena had written. "The lawyer said it has to be a direct descendant, and since I can't carry..." Another email from Ken made me physically ill. "Don't worry, I can convince her. She trusts me completely. Once she's pregnant, we'll have access to the full inheritance. Split 3 ways, that's more than enough to start fresh." Start fresh? My hands trembled as I forwarded the emails to my personal account and deleted the evidence from the sent folder. The next morning, Ken acted like nothing was wrong. "Want me to pick up wine for dinner with Elena tonight?" he asked, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "Already handled it," I replied, pushing scrambled eggs around my plate. "Got her favorite red." He kissed my forehead. "You're the best, babe. This means so much to her. To us." Us. The word felt like poison. At work, I could barely focus. My friend Lorelai noticed immediately when she stopped by my desk. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, perching on my desk. "Spill." I shook my head. "Not here." We met in the parking garage during lunch. Sitting in her car, I showed her the emails on my phone. "Those manipulative bastards." Lorelai's face flushed with anger. You're going to confront them, right? Not yet. I leaned back, closing my eyes. I need to know everything first. How much money we're talking about, what else they've planned. Girl, you're scaring me with how calm you are. Trust me, I'm screaming inside. My phone buzzed. Elena, can't wait for dinner. Ken says you're warming up to the idea. We have so much to discuss. Lorelai read the message over my shoulder and snorted. The audacity. I need a favor, I said. Can you help me set up a hidden camera in my dining room? Just in case. That evening, Elena arrived right on time, wearing her favorite blue dress, the one that made us look most identical. Ken greeted her with a hug that lasted a few seconds too long. I brought the surrogacy agreement, Elena chirped, pulling papers from her bag. Just to look over, of course. No pressure. I poured the wine, my hand steady despite my racing heart. How thoughtful. But maybe we should eat first? Throughout dinner, I watched them exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Every laugh, every casual touch, every seemingly innocent comment now carried hidden weight. Andrea. Elena set down her fork. I know this is a huge decision, but think about how amazing it would be, carrying your niece or nephew. We could experience everything together. Plus, Ken added, reaching for my hand, it would be good practice for us, right, honey? I withdrew my hand to reach for my wine. Tell me more about the agreement. Any specific terms I should know about? Elena brightened. Oh, it's all very standard. Just basic medical requirements, lifestyle restrictions during pregnancy, that sort of thing. And compensation? I asked innocently. Ken coughed. Well, we'd cover all medical expenses, of course. That's so generous. I smiled, thinking of the emails about the trust fund. You know what? Let me see those papers. Elena practically threw them at me. As I pretended to read, my phone buzzed with a text from Lorelai. Camera working perfectly. Getting everything. This is quite detailed, I said, flipping pages. Mind if I have my lawyer look it over? Their faces fell in perfect synchronization. Oh, I don't think that's necessary, Elena stammered. It's family, after all. Family, I echoed, taking another sip of wine. Speaking of which, I was thinking about Grandma Rose the other day. Remember how particular she was about her will? Ken's fork clattered against his plate. Elena's face went white. Such specific conditions, I continued. She always did have strong opinions about carrying on the family line. More wine? Ken jumped up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. I watched them squirm, feeling a cold satisfaction. They had no idea I knew. No idea that every word, every nervous glance was being recorded. Let them think they were winning. Let them think I was falling for their plan. Because the best revenge, like the best lies, takes patience. And I was just getting started. The next morning, I drove to Aunt Elisa's house on the outskirts of town. If anyone could help me navigate this mess without raising suspicions, it would be her. She'd always been the family's voice of reason, and more importantly, she'd been the executor of Grandma Rose's will. I found her tending to her roses, her silver hair gleaming in the morning sun. Andrea. She pulled off her gardening gloves. What brings you here so early? Everything okay? Just needed some aunt wisdom, I said, following her inside. Her kitchen smelled like fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls. Some things never changed. Is this about Elena's surrogacy request? Aunt Elisa asked, pouring 2 cups of coffee. She called me last week, practically bouncing off the walls about it. I gripped my mug tightly. Did she mention anything else? About Grandma Rose's inheritance, maybe? Aunt Elisa's hand paused mid-reach for the sugar. No. Why? Just curious about the will. Elena mentioned something about family lineage requirements. She sat down slowly, studying my face. The trust fund doesn't get released until there's a new generation. Your grandmother was very specific about that. She paused. But Elena knows she doesn't have to rush this. The money will be there whenever. When was the last time you actually read the will? I interrupted. About 6 months ago when Elena started asking questions. Aunt Elisa's eyes narrowed. Andrea, what's really going on? I pulled out my phone and played the recording from last night's dinner. With each word, Aunt Elisa's expression darkened. Those sneaky little... She cut herself off. Have you confronted them? Not yet. I need to understand exactly what I'm dealing with first. She stood abruptly. Wait here. She returned with a thick folder. The complete will and trust documents. I should have shown you this months ago, but Elena insisted she'd handle it. As we pored over the papers, my suspicions were confirmed. The trust fund would only be released once a new generation was born. But nowhere did it specify which sister had to be the mother. They're trying to rush you into this before you discover you have equal claim to the inheritance, Aunt Elisa said, her voice tight with anger. Oh, that girl. Your grandmother would be heartbroken. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ken. Have you looked over those papers yet? Elena's really hoping we can start the process soon. I need a lawyer, I said. Someone discreet. I know just the person. Aunt Elisa reached for her phone. Davis Ray. He's handled family matters for years. I'll call him now. While she made the call, I scrolled through more messages. Elena had sent photos of baby clothes. Ken had texted about scheduling a doctor's appointment. Each message felt like another twist of the knife. Davis arrived within the hour, his briefcase tucked under his arm. He listened without comment as I explained the situation, occasionally making notes. Well, he said finally, you have options. The most important thing is documenting everything. Keep those emails. Record conversations when legal. And whatever you do, don't sign anything. What about the trust fund? I asked. Based on these documents, you have equal right to it. They're trying to manipulate you into giving up your claim. He shuffled through his papers. But there's something else that concerns me. These medical forms they want you to sign? They're not standard surrogacy agreements. They're trying to trap you into specific terms that would give them complete control over your medical decisions during pregnancy. My stomach churned. They really thought this through. Sociopaths usually do, Aunt Elisa muttered. My phone buzzed again. Elena. Lunch tomorrow? We should talk about the timeline. Ken found a great fertility specialist. I showed the message to Davis. What's my next move? Keep playing along, he advised, but we'll need to move quickly. I'll draft proper documentation to protect your interests. I'll help, Aunt Elisa added. Elena won't suspect anything if I start asking questions about the trust. She thinks I'm just being my usual nosy self. I hugged them both before leaving. In my car, I found another text from Ken. Missing you. Can't wait to start our family journey together. I typed back. Me too. Everything's going to change soon. That was the only honest thing I'd said to him all day. Driving home, I thought about Elena's face at dinner, so earnest and loving on the surface, about Ken's gentle touches and encouraging smiles. They'd perfected their performance, but so had I. The difference was I had truth on my side, and soon they'd learn exactly how expensive their lies would cost them. Lunch with Elena felt like starring in a twisted play. We sat at our usual cafe, but everything had changed. Every smile felt poisoned, every word calculated. I found the perfect nursery theme. Elena gushed, showing me pictures on her phone. Gender neutral, of course, since we won't know for a while. It's beautiful, I said, noting how she'd already started saying, we. You've really thought of everything. Speaking of which, she reached into her designer bag. I have the medical screening forms. The fertility clinic can see us next week. I took the papers, pretending to study them. Us? Well, you and Ken, technically. I'll be there for moral support. She stirred her iced tea. He's taking time off work specially. Of course he was. I slipped the forms into my purse right next to my phone, which was recording everything. You seem distant lately, Elena said, reaching for my hand. Are you having doubts? I squeezed her hand, remembering all the times we'd comforted each other as kids. Just processing everything. It's a big decision. But we're sisters, she said, her eyes welling up right on cue. We share everything. More than you know, I thought. That evening, Ken brought home takeout from my favorite restaurant. As we ate, I noticed him checking his phone constantly. Everything okay? I asked. Just work stuff. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Hey, about those medical forms. Already filled them out. I lied smoothly. Elena's right. We shouldn't waste time. His relief was palpable. That's great, honey. I knew you'd come around. Later, while he showered, I heard his phone buzz. The message preview showed Elena's name. She's filling out the forms. Dad's lawyer called about the trust fund. We need to move fast. I snapped a quick photo of the message with my own phone before it disappeared. The next day, Elena invited us both over for dinner. Her apartment was filled with baby magazines and nursery swatches. She'd even set up a corner with a rocking chair. I thought we could start planning the gender reveal party, she announced over pasta. Something intimate, just family. Isn't that a bit premature? I asked. I haven't even started the medical procedures yet. Ken cleared his throat. Actually, I scheduled your first appointment for Monday. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. Without asking me? I knew you'd be busy with work, he said quickly. Wanted to help out. That's so thoughtful. Elena beamed at him. See how perfect this is, Andrea? We're all working together. I excused myself to use the bathroom, pressing record on my phone before leaving it hidden behind a plant. When I returned, they were speaking in hushed tones. Running out of time, Elena was saying. Dad's lawyer is asking questions. They stopped abruptly when I appeared. Ken pulled out his phone. Look at these baby announcement ideas I found. That night, I lay awake listening to the recording. Elena. She's getting suspicious. Did you see her face when you mentioned the appointment? Ken. Just stick to the plan. Once she's pregnant, it won't matter. Elena. The trust fund expires if we don't have a baby by next year. We need her to sign those papers now. Ken. Trust me, I know how to handle my wife. I slipped out of bed and called Lorelai. I need somewhere to stay, I whispered. Not yet, but soon. My guest room is yours, she replied without hesitation. What's the timeline? They scheduled medical procedures for Monday, without asking me. Those controlling bastards. She paused. What did Davis say? To keep playing along until we have everything documented. But Lorelai, I don't know how much longer I can pretend. Just a little longer, she assured me. Let them think they're winning. The next morning, Ken was extra attentive, making breakfast and coffee. Excited about Monday? He asked, sliding a plate of pancakes toward me. I forced a smile. Can't wait. That's my girl. He kissed my cheek. Elena's right. You're going to be an amazing surrogate. I watched him leave for work, then called Aunt Elisa. The lawyer's meeting us at 3, she said. Bring everything you've got. I touched my phone, heavy with recordings and screenshots. Oh, I've got plenty. They thought they had me cornered, but they'd forgotten something crucial. The most dangerous opponent is the one who knows all your secrets. And I knew every single one of theirs. Davis's office felt like a war room as we spread out the evidence across his mahogany desk. Emails, recordings, photos, and legal documents created a paper trail of betrayal. This is more than just a trust fund issue, Davis said, reviewing the medical forms. These documents would essentially give them control over your medical decisions for a year after birth. It's predatory. They're trying to trap me, I said, pointing to specific clauses. Look at these penalties if I breach contract. Aunt Elisa picked up another document. The trust fund deadline explains their rush. But Andrea, there's something else you should see. She pulled out an old envelope. I found this in Grandma Rose's personal effects. It's a letter she wrote to you and Elena to be opened when the trust fund activated. My hands shook as I read. My dearest granddaughters, this trust isn't about money, it's about family. Support each other, love each other. Don't let greed poison what matters most. Well, Elena certainly missed that message, Aunt Elisa said dryly. Davis cleared his throat. We have enough to file for divorce and contest any claim they make on the trust fund, but timing is crucial. A knock interrupted us. His secretary poked her head in. Mr. Ray? Elena is here for her appointment. My heart stopped. What? Don't worry, Davis said quickly. I had a feeling she might try to seek legal counsel. My colleague is meeting with her, in a different building. She has no idea you're here. She's probably trying to fast-track the surrogacy agreement. Aunt Elisa mused. My phone buzzed. Ken. Don't forget, doctor's appointment Monday. Elena's so excited. We need to move faster, I said. They've already scheduled medical procedures. Davis nodded. I can have the divorce papers ready by Friday. But Andrea, once we file, everything changes. Are you prepared? I've already packed a go bag at Lorelei's, I said. But first, I need to confront Ken. Are you sure that's wise? Aunt Elisa asked. I need to see his face when he realizes I know everything. That evening, I found Ken in his home office, typing rapidly on his phone. We need to talk, I said from the doorway. He jumped, quickly putting his phone face down. Hey, honey, just finishing some work emails. Really? Not texting Elena about the trust fund? The color drained from his face. What? I pulled out my phone and played one of the recordings. Him and Elena discussing their plans. Where did you get that? He demanded, standing up. Does it matter? I know everything, Ken. The inheritance scheme, the manipulated medical forms, all of it. He ran his hands through his hair. Andrea, let me explain. Explain what? How you and my sister plan to use my body for money? It's not like that. He stepped toward me. We were going to share everything. The money, the baby. The baby? I laughed bitterly. You mean the one you plan to force me to carry by hiding my own inheritance rights? We did it for the family, he protested. Elena needs this. Elena needs therapy, and you need a lawyer. His expression hardened. You're bluffing. I pulled out the trust fund documents. Am I? Grandma Rose left this for both her granddaughters, not just Elena. You don't understand what you're doing, he warned. Elena's already started the legal process. With Davis Ray's office? Funny thing about that. Understanding dawned on his face. You've been playing us. Learned from the best, didn't I? He grabbed my arm. You can't do this to us. To Elena. I yanked away. Don't touch me, ever again. Andrea, please. His voice cracked. We can work this out. I love you. Save it for the divorce proceedings. I turned to leave, but his words stopped me. You'll regret this. Elena won't let you... Let me? I faced him one last time. That's your problem, Ken. You and Elena thought you could control me, but you forgot something important. What's that? I smiled coldly. I'm a twin too, and I learned all Elena's tricks growing up. I left him standing there, phone buzzing with what I assumed were frantic messages from my sister. Let them panic. Let them scheme. Monday's doctor appointment was going to have a very different outcome than they planned, because while they were plotting my future, I was planning their downfall. And unlike them, I had truth, justice, and Grandma Rose's real wishes on my side. The weekend before the medical appointment felt like the calm before a storm. Ken barely came home, claiming he was working late. My phone exploded with messages from Elena, each more desperate than the last. Please answer my calls. We need to talk about Monday. Everything's falling apart. I stayed at Lorelei's, watching the chaos unfold from a safe distance. Your sister's outside my house. Ken texted Sunday night. She's hysterical. What did you say to her? I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on tomorrow's plan with Davis and Aunt Elisa. Monday morning arrived with a bang. Literally. Elena showed up at Lorelei's at 7 a.m., pounding on the door. Andrea, I know you're in there, she shouted. You can't do this to me. To us. Lorelei opened her bedroom window. Leave now, or I'm calling the police. She's my sister, Elena screamed back. This is family business. Family business? I finally emerged onto the porch. Like plotting to use me as an incubator? Elena's mascara was smeared, her hair disheveled. It wasn't like that. We were going to tell you everything. When? After I was pregnant and trapped by your fake medical contracts? The contracts were for protection. Your protection, I cut in. Not mine. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Please, Andrea. You're my only hope for a baby. The trust fund expires. The trust fund? I laughed bitterly. That's all you really care about, isn't it? No, I mean, yes, we need the money, but... We? I raised an eyebrow. You and Ken seem awfully cozy planning my future together. Her face flushed. That's not fair. He was just helping... Helping himself to my inheritance, you mean? A car pulled up. Ken jumping out before it fully stopped. Elena, I told you to wait. Perfect timing, I said. We can all go to the doctor's appointment together. They exchanged panicked looks. About that, Ken started. Maybe we should postpone. Oh no, I smiled. Everyone's already there waiting. What do you mean, everyone? Elena demanded. You'll see. The fertility clinic's waiting room was packed when we arrived. Aunt Elisa sat with Davis and his legal team. 2 police officers stood near the reception desk, and in the corner, our father's lawyer clutched the original trust fund documents. What is this? Elena whispered. This, I announced loudly, is the gender reveal party you wanted. Except we're revealing something else today. Davis stepped forward, handing out copies of a thick document. This details the conspiracy to defraud Andrea of her inheritance rights through coerced surrogacy. Ken grabbed for the papers. You can't prove... Actually, Aunt Elisa interrupted. We can. Those medical forms you tried to trick her into signing? Illegal. The hidden trust fund details? Fraud. The recorded conversations about your scheme? Damning. Elena collapsed into a chair. Daddy's lawyer wasn't supposed to be here until next week. Plans change, I said. Just like your baby plans are about to change. The police officers moved closer as Ken started toward me. You're making a huge mistake. The only mistake, I said clearly, was thinking you could manipulate me into giving up my rights, my body, and my future for your greed. Davis cleared his throat. Officers, we'd like to file formal complaints of conspiracy and attempted fraud. Elena burst into tears. Andrea, please, we're sisters. We're sisters, I corrected, until you decided money was worth more than that. Ken tried one last time. Think about what you're doing to our marriage. I held up my left hand, now ringless. What marriage? The divorce papers were filed Friday. The room erupted in chaos. Elena wailed. Ken argued with the officers. Lawyers exchanged documents. But I stood calm in the center of the storm, watching years of lies unravel. My phone buzzed. A message from Lorelei. You okay? I looked at Elena, sobbing in her designer dress, and Ken, gesturing angrily at Davis. Better than okay, I typed back. I'm free. Because that's what this was really about. Not money or babies or even revenge. It was about reclaiming my life from people who thought they could write my story for me. And as I watched them face the consequences of their actions, I realized something important. Sometimes the happiest endings come not from getting what you want, but from escaping what you never needed. The aftermath at the fertility clinic spilled into the parking lot, where Elena finally dropped her victim act. You've ruined everything, she screamed, mascara streaming down her face. I was supposed to have a baby. The money was supposed to be mine. Ours, Ken corrected, earning a venomous glare from Elena. Shut up. This is your fault too. If you'd just convinced her like you promised. I stepped between them. Convinced me? More like coerced me. Oh, please. Elena's laugh was hysterical. You always had it so easy. Perfect career, perfect husband. The husband you were plotting with behind my back? Ken grabbed my arm. Andrea, baby, let's talk about this privately. Remove your hand, Davis warned, or the officers will do it for you. The police officers moved closer as Ken backed away. The trust fund deadline is in 3 months. Elena sobbed. What am I supposed to do now? Get a job, I suggested. Try earning something honestly for once. She lunged at me, but Aunt Elisa stepped between us. That's enough. Elena, you're acting exactly like your mother did when she tried to contest Rose's will. The parking lot went silent. What? Elena and I asked simultaneously. Aunt Elisa's eyes widened. You didn't know? Your mother tried to claim the entire inheritance for herself, cutting you both out. That's why Rose added the baby clause, to ensure the money would go to the next generation, not your mother's greed. Mom tried to steal our inheritance? Elena whispered. Like mother, like daughter, I said coldly. Ken cleared his throat. The inheritance doesn't matter. Elena and you what? I turned to face them both. Go ahead. Tell everyone what you really had planned. They exchanged panicked looks. Show them the emails, Andrea, Aunt Elisa urged. I pulled out my phone and read aloud. Once she's pregnant, we can move forward with our plans. She'll be too focused on the baby to notice. Stop, Ken pleaded. Notice what? Davis pressed. Elena cracked first. We were going to move away. Start fresh with the money and the baby. Together? I asked quietly. Their silence was answer enough. Well, Davis said, that certainly adds another layer to our case. The police officers stepped forward. We have enough to proceed with charges. Charges? Elena's face went white. You can't be serious. Conspiracy to commit fraud, one officer listed. Attempted coercion, potential medical abuse. Ken started backing away. This is ridiculous, Elena, tell them. But Elena was already crumbling. It was his idea. He said we could have everything, the money, the baby, a new life. You lying bitch. Ken lunged toward her. The officers moved swiftly, restraining him as Elena collapsed into hysterics. I want my lawyer, Ken shouted. Present. Davis smiled coldly. Though I represent your soon-to-be ex-wife. Aunt Elisa put her arm around me as we watched them both being led to separate police cars. The trust fund? I asked Davis. Will be split equally between you and Elena as originally intended, he confirmed, though her portion might be affected by legal fees and penalties. Through the police car window, I watched Elena sob into her hands while Ken stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. They really thought they'd get away with it, I marveled. People driven by greed usually do, Aunt Elisa said. Your grandmother would be proud of you, standing up for yourself. My phone buzzed. A message from Lorelei. News crews are heading your way. Want to make a statement? I looked at the chaos around me. Police cars, crying sister, angry soon-to-be ex, lawyers exchanging cards. Actually, I said, I do. As reporters gathered, I stepped forward with Davis beside me. My name is Andrea, I began, and this is a story about family betrayal, attempted medical fraud, and the importance of knowing your rights. Elena screamed from the police car. Ken demanded his phone call. But I kept talking, sharing every detail of their scheme, because sunlight is the best disinfectant, and some family secrets deserve to see the light of day. The truth, I concluded to the cameras, is that no amount of money is worth sacrificing your dignity, your autonomy, or your right to choose what happens to your own body. As the reporters clamored with questions, I turned away. Let Elena and Ken face the public consequences of their private schemes. I had my own future to plan. And for the first time in months, I could breathe freely, knowing it would be my choice, my life, my story to write. Without their manipulation, without their lies, without them. The morning of the court hearing, Lorelei helped me choose a simple black dress. Ready to end this? More than ready. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. My story had sparked a national conversation about reproductive rights and family coercion. Elena and Ken's mugshots had gone viral. Inside, Elena sat with her lawyer, wearing prison orange that clashed with her pale skin. Ken was kept separate, having turned state's evidence against her in exchange for a lighter sentence. "All rise," the bailiff called. As the judge entered, I felt Aunt Elisa squeeze my hand. The proceedings moved quickly. Both Elena and Ken had accepted plea deals. Before I delivered the sentences, the judge said, "Would the victim like to make a statement?" I stood, my prepared speech forgotten as I faced my twin sister. "Elena," I began, "we shared everything growing up. Same face, same room, same dreams. But somewhere along the way, you decided that sharing wasn't enough. You wanted to take." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "You and Ken didn't just try to steal my inheritance or my body. You tried to steal my choice, my future, my trust in family." Ken shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "But here's what you actually gave me instead. Strength I didn't know I had. A voice I might never have found. And a new purpose." I turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I've used my portion of the trust fund to start the Family First Foundation, helping victims of reproductive coercion and family fraud. Elena's actions showed me how many people need this support." Elena finally looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Andrea, Save it." I cut her off. "Your tears don't work anymore." The judge nodded appreciatively. "Mr. Hernandez, you'll serve 18 months for conspiracy to commit fraud, followed by 5 years probation. Ms. Hopkins, given the premeditated nature of your crimes and the breach of family trust, you'll serve 3 years, with restitution payments to be determined." Elena crumpled. Ken stared at the floor. Outside, reporters swarmed us again. "How does it feel to see justice served? What's next for the foundation? Any words for your sister?" I faced the cameras. "To anyone being pressured by family, being manipulated into giving up their rights, speak up. Get help. You're not alone." Back at Lorelei's house, where I'd been staying, Aunt Elisa poured champagne. "A toast," she said, "to new beginnings." My phone buzzed, a message from Davis. "Trust fund transfer complete. The foundation is officially funded." Another text followed from an unknown number. "Saw you on the news. Same thing happened to me. How can I help with the foundation?" Then another. "Thank you for speaking out." And another. "You gave me courage to say no to my family." Lorelei read over my shoulder. "Look what you've started." "We're going to need a bigger office," Aunt Elisa mused. The doorbell rang. Delivery from my favorite restaurant. The card read, "To the strongest woman I know. Love, Dad." He'd been quietly supportive throughout the ordeal, devastated by Elena's actions, but proud of my response. As we ate, more messages poured in. Women sharing stories, offers to volunteer, requests for help. "You know," Lorelei said, "Elena thought she was taking everything from you. Instead," Aunt Elisa added, "she gave you a gift. Purpose." I picked up Grandma Rose's letter, which I'd kept close these past months. "Don't let greed poison what matters most." She was right, I said. What matters most isn't money or babies or even family ties. It's being true to yourself. My phone lit up again. Elena's lawyer. "She's asking to see you." "Not yet," I typed back. "Maybe not ever." Because some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some betrayals cut too deep. Some endings are really endings, but they can also be beginnings. I opened my laptop, where the Foundation's website waited for launch. Our mission statement glowed on the screen. Empowering individuals to protect their rights, their bodies, and their futures from family coercion. "Ready?" Lorelei asked, finger hovering over the publish button. I thought about Elena in her cell, Ken facing his consequences, and all the people out there facing similar battles alone. "Ready," I said firmly. The website went live as my phone continued buzzing with messages from people needing help, offering support, sharing stories. This wasn't the family I was born into, but maybe it was the family I was meant to build. One truth at a time. One voice at a time. One story at a time, starting with mine.
I stared at my phone screen in disbelief, my hands shaking, as I read the headline again. Nina Hopkins wins prestigious Horizon Science Award for groundbreaking renewable energy research. My sister had just won an award for my work, my research, my life's passion. I'm Amara, and until today, I thought being a scientist meant standing for truth. I've spent the last 3 years developing a revolutionary method for storing solar energy using organic compounds. Late nights in the lab, countless failed experiments, and endless data analysis, all stolen with a USB drive and a fake smile. Did you see the news? Lexi burst into my lab, her face flushed. Amara, that's your research. How did Nina even... She took my backup drive during Dad's birthday dinner last month, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Remember when she insisted on seeing my lab, said she was just proud of her little sister? The memory made me sick. Nina had always been the golden child, charming, social, the one who could do no wrong. But this was a new low. My phone buzzed again. Dad's message popped up. Family dinner tonight to celebrate Nina's award. Be there by 7. No excuses. You have to tell them, Lexi said, gripping my shoulder. Show them your original research files, the timestamps, everything. I laughed bitterly. You think they'll believe me over Nina? Dad's probably already planning her victory speech. Just then, Logan appeared in the doorway, his usual calm demeanor replaced with concern. Amara, I just heard. This is serious. The demonstration is in 3 weeks. Nina can't possibly explain the complex chemical processes involved. The demonstration? Lexi's eyes widened. Part of the award, I explained. A plan slowly forming in my mind. The winner has to demonstrate their research live, in front of the entire scientific community. Logan nodded. And the media. It's quite the spectacle. I stood up, suddenly energized. Then that's where she'll fall. Nina may have stolen my research, but she can't steal my understanding. She'll have to explain every reaction, every process. Amara, Lexi warned, this isn't about revenge, I interrupted. It's about truth. Science is built on integrity, and I won't let her mock that. That evening, I walked into my parents' house, the familiar scent of Mom's lasagna, doing nothing to settle my churning stomach. Nina was already holding court in the living room, surrounded by our parents and a few relatives. Little sis, she beamed, pulling me into a hug. Can you believe it? All those hours in the lab finally paid off. I felt bile rise in my throat, but forced a smile. Congratulations. The demonstration should be interesting. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, maybe? But she recovered quickly. Oh, I can't wait to show everyone. Dad, did I tell you about the organic compound matrix? As Nina launched into a garbled explanation that made me cringe, Dad beamed with pride. Mom kept taking photos, probably for social media. Nobody noticed my white knuckles or clenched jaw. A toast. Dad raised his glass. To Nina, following in my footsteps in the scientific community. I always knew you had it in you. I couldn't help myself. Really, I thought you said Nina barely passed her chemistry classes in college. The room went silent. Nina's smile faltered. Amara, Mom scolded. Don't be jealous. This is your sister's moment. Yeah, Amara, Nina added, her voice honey-sweet, but her eyes cold. We can't all be winners. I stood up abruptly. I need some air. Outside, I leaned against the porch railing, taking deep breaths of the cool evening air. My phone buzzed. A message from Logan. Committee head Sadie Mack wants to meet Nina tomorrow to discuss technical details. Thought you should know. A small smile played on my lips. Nina might have stolen my research, but she couldn't steal years of knowledge. The demonstration would be her undoing. I just had to wait. Everything okay? Dad's voice startled me. He joined me on the porch, concern etched on his face. Dad, I started, then stopped. What could I say? That his perfect daughter was a fraud. That I had proof but knew he wouldn't believe me. He patted my shoulder awkwardly. I know it's hard seeing your sister succeed in your field, but you'll have your moment too, sweetheart. I looked at him, this man who had inspired my love of science, who had taught me about integrity and truth. You're right, Dad. My moment will come sooner than you think. Inside, I could hear Nina laughing, probably spinning more lies about my research. Let her laugh. In 3 weeks, everyone would know the truth, and I wouldn't have to say a word. The next morning, I couldn't escape Nina's face. It was everywhere. Local news, science blogs, even the university's homepage. Each headline felt like a fresh slap. Local scientist makes breakthrough. Hopkins' sister revolutionizes solar energy storage. Turn that off before I throw something, I told Lexi, who was scrolling through news coverage in my lab. Wait, look at this comment section, she said, ignoring my threat. Some people are asking questions, pretty technical ones, that Nina can't possibly. A crash from the adjacent lab interrupted her. We rushed over to find Logan, standing over a broken beaker, clear liquid spreading across the floor. Sorry, he said, looking distracted. Just met with Nina and Sadie. It was interesting. Spill it, I demanded, tossing him paper towels. How bad was she? Let's just say Sadie's eyebrows nearly disappeared into her hairline when Nina couldn't explain basic molecular binding principles. He started mopping up the mess. But here's the thing, Nina somehow charmed her way through it, kept redirecting questions, making jokes about being nervous. Classic Nina, I muttered. She's been doing that since we were kids. Remember when she took credit for my science fair project in 8th grade, Lexi? The solar-powered water purifier, Lexi nodded. Your dad was so proud of Nina. History repeats itself, I said bitterly. The lab door burst open, and speak of the devil, Nina walked in, wearing a lab coat that still had its creases from the store. Baby sis, I need your help. Her voice was sugary sweet. These reporters keep asking such specific questions. Maybe you could explain some things to me. You know, sister to sister. I looked at her perfectly manicured nails, her carefully crafted concerned expression. You want me to help you understand my research so you can better pretend it's yours? Nina's face hardened for a split second before the mask slipped back on. Don't be difficult, Amara. This is good for the whole family. Dad's already gotten 3 calls from major research facilities. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my lab. She stepped closer, dropping her voice. Listen here, little sister. No one would believe you anyway. I have the presentation files, the data, everything. Who are they going to trust? The award winner or the jealous sister? Is everything okay? Sella from the biochem lab poked her head in, eyes darting between us. Perfect, Nina chirped, back to her sunny self. Just getting some sisterly advice for the demonstration. You'll all be there, right? After she left, Lexi grabbed my arm. Please tell me you're not just gonna let her get away with this. I walked to my computer and pulled up a file. Remember that accident with the organic compound matrix last month? The one that nearly blew up the lab. Logan leaned in. The failed catalyst reaction. Exactly. Nina has my successful trials, but she doesn't know about the failures. About what happens if you don't adjust the pH levels. Exactly right. Amara, Lexi warned, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I'm not going to do anything, I said, closing the file. I'm just going to let Nina do what Nina does best, show off without understanding the consequences. That evening, I got another family dinner invitation, this time at an upscale restaurant. Nina had invited local reporters. And then, Nina was saying to an enthralled journalist, I realized we could use organic compounds to create a more stable energy storage system. Under the table, I dug my nails into my palms. Fascinating, the reporter gushed. Can you explain the chemical process? Nina's smile flickered. Oh, it's quite technical. Maybe my sister can help explain. She's also in the field, Amara. All eyes turned to me. Dad beamed encouragingly. Mom nodded expectantly. I took a sip of water. Actually, I'd love to hear Nina explain it. After all, it's her research. The silence that followed was deafening. Well, Nina stammered. It's quite complex, involves multiple chemical reactions. Nina's being modest, Dad jumped in. She's always been brilliant, just like her old man. Later, in the restaurant's bathroom, Nina cornered me. What was that about? What was what about? I thought you understood your own research. Stop playing games, she hissed. You need to help me prepare for this demonstration. Your little passive-aggressive act could ruin everything. I washed my hands slowly. You know what, Nina? For once in your life, you're going to have to face the consequences of your actions. And I'm going to enjoy watching every second of it. As I left the bathroom, my phone buzzed. A message from Logan. Sadie's scheduled a pre-demonstration review. Nina has to explain the entire process, step by step. I smiled at my reflection in the mirror. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and science has a way of exposing the truth. 2 weeks before the demonstration, I found myself in the university cafeteria with Lexi, picking at a salad while she read me Nina's latest interview. The breakthrough came to me during a midnight inspiration. Lexi read, rolling her eyes. I've always been fascinated by sustainable energy solutions. That's rich, I snorted. She called solar panels, those roof things, last Christmas. Amara, Nina's voice, rang across the cafeteria. She was walking toward us, with Sadie, the award committee head. My stomach clenched. Just the person we needed, Sadie said, pulling up a chair. Nina was just explaining the catalyst modification process, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Nina's smile remained fixed, but her eyes screamed panic. Oh, Sadie, we shouldn't bother Amara during her lunch. No, please, I said, sitting straighter. I'd love to hear Nina's explanation first. Always learning from my big sister. Sadie turned to Nina expectantly. Yes, you were saying about the molecular binding. Well, Nina fumbled with her water bottle. It's quite technical. Perhaps we should schedule a proper meeting. Actually, I cut in. I'm curious about how you handled the temperature fluctuation issues during the catalysis stage. That must have been challenging. Nina's face went pale. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. Oh, important call. Excuse me. As Nina practically ran from the cafeteria, Sadie watched her go, with narrowed eyes. Interesting, she murmured, then turned to me. Ms. Hopkins, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the research sometime. Perhaps over coffee. I'm sure Nina wouldn't appreciate that, I said carefully. Sadie's expression was unreadable. Perhaps not. After she left, Lexi grabbed my arm. Did you see Nina's face? She's terrified. Good, I said, but my satisfaction was interrupted by a memory. Daddy, look. I was 12. Proudly holding up my science project. I made a mini wind turbine. That's nice, sweetie, Dad said distractedly. Nina, tell me more about your debate team victory. Nina, 16, and already perfect, launched into another story about her triumph. I quietly took my project back to my room, adding it to the pile of achievements that would never be quite good enough. Earth to Amara, Lexi waved her hand in front of my face. Where'd you go? Just remembering something, I said, shaking off the memory. Logan appeared at our table, looking worried. Nina's in the lab, trying to recreate your experiments. She's going to hurt herself, or worse, blow something up. We rushed to the lab. Through the window, I could see Nina randomly mixing chemicals, her movements frantic. Stop, I burst in. That combination is highly reactive. Nina jumped, nearly dropping a beaker. What are you doing here? Stopping you from causing an explosion, I snapped, grabbing the chemicals. These compounds need precise measurements and specific conditions. You can't just mix them randomly. Then help me, she pleaded. I know I messed up, but I can't fail at this demonstration. Dad's already told everyone. His colleagues are coming. Of course, I laughed bitterly. It's always about Dad's pride, isn't it? That's not fair. Fair? I slammed the beaker down. You stole my research that could have launched my career, but you couldn't stand the thought of your little sister succeeding, could you? You don't understand, Nina's voice cracked. Dad never looked at me the way he looks at you when you talk about science. I was just the debate team girl, the social butterfly, never the brilliant one. So you stole my work? I found the drive, and I just wanted him to be proud like that, just once. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered all the times she'd taken credit for my work, all the times she'd dismissed my achievements. The demonstration is in 2 weeks, I said coldly. Better study up. As I turned to leave, she called out, "Remember when we were kids? How we used to pretend we were famous scientists?" Yeah, I paused at the door. Funny how things turn out. Outside, Lexi was waiting. You okay? No, I admitted. But I will be, after the demonstration. My phone buzzed, a message from Dad. Dinner tonight, need to discuss Nina's presentation. Bring your lab notes to help your sister prepare. I showed Lexi the message. Still think I should feel bad? Nope, she said. Let karma do its thing. I looked back through the lab window. Nina was staring at the chemicals like they were written in alien language. In 2 weeks, everyone would know the truth. The thought should have made me happy, but instead, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Some family bonds, once broken, can never be repaired, but some truths need to be told, no matter the cost. 10 days before the demonstration, the whispers started. I first noticed them in the research wing. Scientists huddled in corners, conversations stopping when Nina walked by. My sister's confident strut had devolved into a nervous shuffle. Did you hear? Logan cornered me by the coffee machine. Nina completely bombed the preliminary review meeting, couldn't explain basic principles of her own supposed research. Her research? Sela appeared behind us, eyebrows raised. That's interesting, because I distinctly remember Amara explaining those exact processes months ago. I poured my coffee carefully. I'm sure Nina has an explanation. Oh, she had several. Logan smirked. None of them made sense. The lab door burst open, and Nina stormed in, mascara smeared. Amara, we need to talk, now. I followed her into the supply closet, where she immediately broke down. They're all looking at me like I'm stupid, she sobbed. Sadie keeps asking these impossible questions, and everyone's whispering, and Dad's invited the entire department to the demonstration. And they're not impossible questions, I cut in. They're basic concepts that anyone who did this research would understand. Please, she grabbed my arm. Just help me understand enough to get through the demonstration. I'll tell everyone you helped with the research. I stared at her. Helped? Nina, it's my research. Every bit of it. And you know what's funny? If you'd asked, I probably would have collaborated with you. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, she hissed. Dad's always bragging about his brilliant younger daughter, the real scientist. Do you know how that feels? About as good as watching someone else take credit for your life's work, I imagine. A knock interrupted us. Nina, it was Sadie. We need to discuss some discrepancies in your methodology. Nina's face went white. I slipped out of the closet as Sadie entered, catching snippets of their conversation. Fundamental inconsistencies in your understanding. Cannot proceed without clear explanations. Integrity of the award at stake. I found Lexi in my lab, organizing samples. You're looking particularly smug today, she observed. The truth has a way of surfacing, I said, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from Dad. Right on cue, he burst into the lab. Amara, why aren't you helping your sister? She's falling apart. Dad, no excuses. This is a family moment. Nina needs us. She's under so much pressure. Because she stole my work. The words exploded out before I could stop them. Dad stepped back, shocked. What are you talking about? The research she won the award for. It's mine. All of it. She took my backup drive and passed it off as her own. That's ridiculous, he stammered. Nina would never. Check the timestamps. Check my lab records. Check the security footage from the night she worked late to make her breakthrough. She's never even run these experiments. You're just jealous, he said. But his voice wavered. Nina's always been... What, Dad? The favorite. The perfect one. Well, your perfect daughter is about to humiliate herself and this entire family because she can't explain research she didn't do. The lab fell silent. Even Lexi had stopped moving. I should. Dad turned and walked out, looking lost. My phone buzzed, a text from Logan. Nina just ran out of her meeting with Sadie crying. Committee's calling an emergency session. You okay? Lexi asked softly. No, I admitted. But it's too late to stop this now. The rest of the day passed in a blur of whispers and sidelong glances. Nina didn't return to the lab. Dad didn't call again. That evening, I found a single email in my inbox from Sadie. We should talk about your research, the original research. I was typing a response when my door buzzer rang. Mom stood there looking tired. Nina told me everything, she said quietly. She's not well, Amara. The demonstration is in 9 days, I finished. And she's not ready because she didn't do the research. Can't you help her? For the family. I thought about all the family dinners where my achievements were footnotes to Nina's stories. All the times I swallowed my pride and stayed quiet. No, Mom, not this time. She left without another word. My phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. This is Sadie. Committee meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Your presence is required. I forwarded the message to Lexi, who responded immediately. The house of cards is falling. Looking out my window at the darkening sky, I thought about Nina, probably crying in her apartment. About Dad, his world of perfect family dynamics crumbling. About years of living in shadows and swallowing truth. Sometimes karma needs a catalyst, and sometimes that catalyst is simply refusing to help hide a lie any longer. The committee room felt colder than usual that morning. Sadie sat at the head of the long table, flanked by 4 stern-faced committee members. Nina slumped in her chair, eyes red-rimmed. I took my seat quietly, noting the stack of papers in front of Sadie. Let's begin, Sadie said, adjusting her glasses. Nina, please explain the molecular binding process in your energy storage system. Nina's voice quivered. Well, the molecules, they bind together. Specifically, Sadie pressed, walk us through the exact chemical reaction. I'm just nervous. Nina's laugh sounded hollow. Amara, maybe you could… No. Sadie cut in sharply. We need to hear this from you. The silence stretched painfully. I watched my sister crumble under the weight of her lies, remembering all the times she'd stolen my spotlight with her easy charm and quick deflections. Not today. Perhaps, one committee member suggested, you could explain why the catalyst needs precise pH levels. Nina shuffled her papers desperately. The pH levels are important because the door burst open. Dad strode in, looking like he hadn't slept. I demand to know what's going on here, he announced. My daughter is being harassed. Mr. Hopkins, Sadie said coolly. This is a closed meeting. I've been reviewing Amara's lab records, Dad continued, ignoring her. And Nina's supposed breakthrough timeline doesn't add up. Nina's head snapped up. Daddy, please, when exactly did you develop this research, Nina? His voice cracked. Because according to the lab logs, you've barely spent 10 hours total in any research facility this year. I worked from home, Nina stammered. With what equipment? I finally spoke. The specialized catalysts, the molecular spectrometer, the temperature-controlled environment chamber. Enough, Sadie interrupted. Nina, we've reviewed the security footage from the nights you claimed to be working. We've examined your badge access records. We've compared your methodology documents with previously submitted research papers. She paused, letting each word land like a hammer blow. Would you like to explain the remarkable similarities we found with your sister's work? Nina burst into tears. Everyone expected so much. And Amara makes it look so easy. Easy? I stood up, anger finally boiling over. I spent 3 years developing this research. 3 years of failed experiments, missed family events, sleepless nights. You think it was easy? You always were Dad's favorite, Nina shot back. Perfect little scientist Amara, following in his footsteps. That's not true, Dad said quietly. Nina, I was always proud of you too. Your debates, your social skills. My social skills, Nina laughed bitterly. That's what you were proud of, while you bragged about Amara's scientific achievements. Ladies, Sadie cut in firmly. This family drama, while fascinating, doesn't change the facts. Nina, we have no choice but to rescind the award. The room fell silent. The demonstration is cancelled, Sadie continued. We'll issue a public statement. No, Nina pleaded. Please, you can't. The humiliation. Should have thought about that before stealing my research, I muttered. Dad stepped forward. There must be some way to handle this quietly. Science is built on integrity, Sadie said firmly. This isn't just about family reputation, Mr. Hopkins. This is about maintaining the credibility of our entire scientific community. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A news alert. Questions arise about Horizon Award winners' research credentials. It's already starting. I showed them the headline. Nina slumped in her chair, defeated. I never meant, I just wanted to be seen, Dad finished softly. Oh, Nina, why didn't you just tell me? Would you have listened? She asked. Really listened, not just nodded and asked about Amara's latest experiment? The truth of her words hung heavy in the air. We were all guilty. Nina of theft, Dad of favoritism, me of silence when I should have spoken up sooner. The committee will need your formal statement, Sadie told me. As the original researcher, I nodded, watching Nina gather her things with trembling hands. Dad looked lost, standing between his daughters, unable to fix this with his usual charm and influence. Amara, Nina paused at the door. I am sorry, not for getting caught, but for everything. For all the times I couldn't just let you shine. Save it, I said, turning away. But as she left, I caught Dad's eye. The pain there matched my own. The pain of a family fracturing under the weight of long-buried truths. Sadie cleared her throat. Well, shall we discuss your research properly now, Amara? I sat down, straightening my papers. Through the window, I could see Nina and Dad walking across the campus, their shoulders bent, no longer the perfect father-daughter duo they'd pretended to be. Sometimes victory tastes more like ashes than champagne. The news spread like wildfire. By evening, every major scientific journal had picked up the story. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications and messages from colleagues I hadn't heard from in years. You're trending on Twitter, Lexi announced, sprawled on my lab couch. Sisterly deception and science fraud are the top hashtags. Great, I muttered, trying to focus on my work. Just what I always wanted. Logan burst in, waving his tablet. Have you seen the latest? Nina's given an interview. My stomach dropped. What did she say? Actually, he scrolled through the article. She came clean, admitted everything, says she's seeking therapy for her competitive issues, and apologizes for undermining the scientific community's trust. Damage control, Lexi scoffed. Before I could respond, Dad appeared in the doorway. He looked older somehow, his usual confident posture replaced by something more hesitant. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Lexi and Logan exchanged glances before making themselves scarce. If this is about Nina, I started. It's about me, Dad interrupted, sitting heavily on a lab stool. I've been thinking about what Nina said, about favoritism, about not listening. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, I do. He picked up one of my research papers, turning it over in his hands. I was so excited when you showed interest in science. It was like seeing myself at your age. And Nina wasn't me, I finished. I pushed her away, he admitted. Every time she tried to connect in her own way, I compared her to you, to me. I helped create this mess. The lab felt too small suddenly, too full of years of unspoken words. My phone buzzed again. Mom, family dinner tonight. No excuses. We need to talk. She's texted me too, Dad said, seeing my expression. Nina will be there. I can't. I shook my head. It's too soon. Please, he stood up. We need to fix this, as a family. Hours later, I found myself standing outside my parents' house, heart pounding. Through the window, I could see Nina already at the dining table, looking smaller somehow, without her usual confident facade. "You came." Lexi's voice made me jump. She was leaning against her car across the street. "What are you doing here?" "Back up," she shrugged. "In case you need a quick escape." Inside, the tension was thick enough to cut. Mom busied herself serving lasagna, while Dad attempted small talk about the weather. Nina stared at her plate. "So," Mom finally said, "we need to discuss the demonstration." "There is no demonstration," I reminded her. "The award was rescinded." "But your research," Dad jumped in. "The committee wants you to present it, don't they?" Nina's fork clattered against her plate. "Of course they do. Amara's the real scientist after all." "Stop it," Mom snapped. "This self-pity isn't helping anyone." "Then what would help?" Nina shot back. "Pretending everything's fine? That I didn't destroy our family's reputation." "You didn't destroy anything," Dad said quietly. "We did that ourselves, years ago." The silence that followed was deafening. "I got offered a position at Stanford," I said suddenly. "Everyone looked at me. They want me to continue my research there, lead my own team." That's wonderful," Mom managed. "When do you leave?" Nina asked, her voice small. "Next month, after I present my research to the committee." "Amara," Nina started, then stopped. Tried again. "The research, it really is brilliant. I knew it the moment I read it. That's why I—" She trailed off. "Wanted it for yourself," I finished. She nodded, tears falling. "I'm seeing someone, a therapist. She's helping me understand why I always needed to compete with you." Dad reached across the table, taking both our hands. "We all need help understanding some things." My phone buzzed. Lexi checking in. Through the window, I could see her still waiting faithfully across the street. "I have to go." I stood up. "I have a presentation to prepare for." "Amara," Nina called as I reached the door. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I always was. I just couldn't show it right." I paused, hand on the doorknob. Maybe you could come to the presentation, see the research done right this time." The hope that flickered across her face made my chest tight. Outside, Lexi pushed off her car. "How'd it go?" I looked back at the house, at my family visible through the window. "Broken, but maybe, just maybe, not beyond repair." "Ask me after the presentation," I said. "Some experiments need time to show results." The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Every seat was filled. Scientists, reporters, students, and in the front row, my family. Nina sat between our parents, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She'd lost weight in the past weeks, the designer clothes hanging loose on her frame. "Ready?" Lexi appeared beside me backstage, adjusting my microphone. "Full house out there. Everyone loves a scandal," Logan added, checking the presentation equipment one last time. "But they're about to see something better, real science." Sadie stepped onto the stage, her voice commanding immediate silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to witness a groundbreaking presentation on renewable energy storage." My heart pounded as she introduced me. This was my moment. No theft, no lies, just pure research. "Good luck," Lexi whispered as I walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, but I could still see Nina's face clearly. She gave me a small nod. 3 years ago, I began. I started exploring a revolutionary approach to storing solar energy using organic compounds. The presentation flowed naturally. Every equation, every reaction, every principle, I knew them intimately. They were mine. The audience leaned forward in their seats as I demonstrated the molecular binding process, explaining each step with clarity and confidence. "The key breakthrough," I continued, pulling up the critical data, came when we discovered that adjusting the pH levels of the catalyst could significantly increase storage capacity. A hand shot up in the audience. "Could you explain the exact mechanism?" I smiled, remembering Nina's struggle with the same question. "Of course, the catalyst works by The explanation rolled off my tongue effortlessly. In the front row, Dad's eyes shone with tears. Mom squeezed Nina's hand. Then came the live demonstration. The moment that would have exposed Nina's theft if she'd made it this far. I carefully mixed the compounds, explaining each step. Watch closely, I said, adding the catalyst. The color change indicates successful binding. The solution shifted from clear to brilliant blue. Gasps rippled through the audience. And now, I continued, we can measure the energy storage capacity. The readings appeared on the screen behind me, proving everything I'd claimed. The audience burst into applause. Questions? Sadie asked, joining me on stage. Dozens of hands shot up. Each question was more technical than the last, and I answered them all. This was my research, my understanding, my moment. One final question, Sadie announced, pointing to a journalist in the back. Given recent events, he stood up. How do you feel about your sister's attempt to claim this research? The room went silent. I saw Nina flinch. My research speaks for itself, I said firmly. Today isn't about what happened before. It's about moving science forward. More applause. As people began filing out for the reception, Nina approached the stage. She swallowed hard. That was amazing. I never really understood how complex it all was until I saw you explain it. Nina. No, let me finish, she interrupted. Watching you up there, I finally got it. Why Dad was so proud. Why everyone respects you so much. It's not just about being smart. It's about dedication, understanding, passion. Before I could respond, we were surrounded by scientists eager to discuss collaboration opportunities. Through the crowd, I saw Dad talking to Sadie, gesturing animatedly. Mom was wiping tears, smiling proudly. Dr. Rivera from MIT wants to discuss potential applications. Logan appeared, grinning. You're going to be busy. Speaking of busy, Lexi cut in. Stanford called. They want to move up your start date. Apparently, this presentation caused quite a stir. I looked at Nina, who had stepped back to let others approach. Our eyes met across the crowd. Give me a minute, I told Lexi, making my way to my sister. I should go, Nina said quickly. Let you celebrate with your colleagues. Stay, I surprised myself by saying. There's a reception. Maybe you could hear about what this research could mean for renewable energy. Not as a scientist, but as someone who cares about making a difference. She blinked back tears. You'd want me there? Families should stick together, I said, even when they mess up spectacularly. A laugh bubbled up through her tears. I did mess up spectacularly, didn't I? Monumentally, I agreed. But today's about new beginnings. As we walked toward the reception hall, I caught sight of our reflection in the window. Two sisters, no longer competing, no longer pretending, just walking forward, together. Amara, Nina said softly. Thank you for not letting me get away with it, for making me face myself. I squeezed her hand. Sometimes the hardest experiments yield the most important results. The evening after my presentation, our family gathered in my lab one last time before my move to Stanford. Pizza boxes littered the counter as Dad examined my research notes with newfound understanding. I can't believe I never asked to see your work before, he said, shaking his head. All these years. Well, you're looking now, I smiled, showing him my latest data. See how the molecular structure changes under different conditions. Nina sat quietly in the corner, watching us. She'd spent the afternoon helping me pack, carefully wrapping delicate equipment, while we talked about everything and nothing. Your sister's going to change the world, Lexi declared, walking in with more boxes. Stanford won't know what hit them. They already don't, Logan added, following with coffee. The department head called again. They're fast-tracking the funding for your new lab. Nina stood up suddenly. I have something for you. She pulled a small package from her bag. Open it. Inside was a framed photo. Me at 12, proudly holding my first science fair project. Where did you get this? Mom's old albums. Look at the back. I turned it over. There, in Nina's neat handwriting. To my brilliant sister, I'm sorry I tried to steal your light instead of helping it shine. Love, Nina. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said quickly. I just want you to know I understand now. What I did was wrong on every level. Speaking of understanding, Dad cleared his throat. I have something too. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter of resignation from his position on the university's board. Dad, no. Yes, he said firmly. I can't stay after everything that happened. Plus, he smiled. It's time to focus on being a better father instead of just a proud one. Mom appeared in the doorway. Are we doing gifts? Because I have one too. She held up a small box. Open it together. Nina and I exchanged glances before lifting the lid. Inside were two identical journals, one labeled Amara's Research and one Nina's Journey. For new beginnings, Mom explained. Amara can document her work at Stanford, and Nina can write about her therapy progress and finding her own path. Mom, Nina's voice cracked. No more comparing, Mom said firmly. No more favorites, just two daughters finding their way. Sadie chose that moment to walk in, carrying official-looking documents. Sorry to interrupt the family moment, but I need signatures. Amara, Stanford's waiting for these transfer papers. And Nina, the ethics committee requires your formal statement. We signed our respective papers, me toward my future, Nina acknowledging her past mistakes. By the way, Sadie added, the committee was impressed with how you handled everything, Amara. They're considering you for next year's award, properly this time. Actually, I said, looking at Nina, I've been thinking about that. What if we turned this whole experience into something positive? A joint presentation on ethics in science. Nina's head snapped up. What? You're good at public speaking, I continued, and your perspective on competition, pressure, and redemption could help others, combined with the scientific principles. That's actually brilliant, Sadie mused. A cautionary tale and cutting-edge science in one package. You'd want to work with me? Nina asked incredulously. After everything. Not on the research, I clarified, but on showing others how to avoid our mistakes, yes. Dad wiped his eyes, not so subtly. My girls, working together at last. Don't get sappy on us now, Mom teased, but she was smiling too. Lexi raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings. We all raised our cups, scientists, family, friends, united in this moment of transformation. You know, Nina said softly, as we gathered the last of my things, I always thought I needed to be exactly like you to make Dad proud. But watching you today, I realized something. What's that? The world doesn't need another you. It needs me to be the best version of myself. I looked around my lab one last time, at the empty shelves that had held my research, at Dad explaining basic chemistry to Mom, at Lexi and Logan arguing about proper box labeling techniques, at Sadie making notes about our joint presentation idea. Ready to go? Nina asked, picking up a box. Almost, I said, taking one last photo of my old lab, just documenting the moment where everything changed. For better or worse, I smiled, remembering the stolen research, the lies, the pain, and now, finally, the healing. For better, definitely for better. As we walked out together, I realized some experiments yield unexpected results. Sometimes the catalyst for change isn't in a beaker or test tube, but in the messy, complicated reactions between people who love each other, even when they forget how to show it.
I stood frozen in the shadows of the backstage area, my heart pounding as my sister's voice filled the venue with my words, my melody, my soul. The private showcase was packed with industry executives, and Hannah owned every inch of that stage, belting out the song I'd poured my heart into for months. My name is Jennifer, and I just watched my sister steal my dream. That's the one, Leon whispered beside me, his eyes gleaming. That's the hit that's going to launch her career. He squeezed my shoulder, either oblivious to or ignoring my trembling. I shrugged his hand off. That's my song, I hissed through clenched teeth. I wrote it in my bedroom last month, you know that. Leon's expression hardened. Jennifer, we've talked about this. You're a brilliant songwriter, but Hannah has the stage presence, the look, the whole package. This is what's best for everyone. The audience erupted in applause as Hannah finished the final note. My song, my story, my pain, all wrapped up in her perfect package with a bow on top. I pushed past Leon and stormed toward the dressing room, nearly colliding with Victoria, my best friend and only ally in this snake pit of an industry. Jen, wait, she called after me, but I was already shoving open the dressing room door. Hannah sat at the vanity, touching up her lipstick. She caught my reflection in the mirror and smiled. Baby sis, did you hear them out there? They loved it. How could you? My voice cracked. We promised when we were kids, no stealing each other's songs, ever. Hannah spun around on her chair, still wearing that infuriating smile. This isn't stealing, Jen. This is collaboration. You write, I perform. We're a team. A team? I laughed bitterly. Teams don't go behind each other's backs. You didn't even ask me. Because you would have said no. Hannah stood up, her heels clicking on the floor as she approached me. You would have hidden that beautiful song away in your little notebook, like you do with all of them. Some things are too good to stay hidden, sis. That wasn't your choice to make. I felt tears threatening, but I refused to let them fall. That song was personal. About Dad's death, and I gave it the platform it deserves. Hannah grabbed my hands. Listen to me. You're not ready for the spotlight. You get nervous ordering coffee for God's sake, but together, we could be unstoppable. I yanked my hands away. You had no right. The door opened and Leon walked in, followed by Victoria. Leon clapped his hands together. Ladies, we have some very excited executives out there. Hannah, they want to discuss recording options. Perfect. Hannah beamed, gathering her things. She paused at the door. Jen, don't be mad. This is good for both of us, you'll see. As she left with Leon, Victoria wrapped an arm around my shoulders. That was brutal. Are you okay? I wiped my eyes. She's been doing this our whole lives, taking what's mine because she thinks she deserves it more, but this time... I shook my head. This time she went too far. So what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, Leon poked his head back in. Jennifer, a word? Victoria squeezed my arm and left us alone. Leon closed the door. I know you're upset, he started. Upset doesn't begin to cover it. But this is the music business. It's not about fairness, it's about what sells. Hannah has that spark, that thing that makes people want to watch her. You're brilliant behind the scenes, but you're not ready for the spotlight. So you're just going to let her take credit for my work? Leon sighed. The song will be credited to you as a writer. You'll get your royalties. But Hannah needs this win. The label needs this win. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our pride for the greater good. I stared at him. This man who'd promised to look out for both of us when we signed with him 2 years ago. The greater good? Or your commission? His jaw tightened. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. Take some time to cool off. And Jennifer? He paused at the door. Don't do anything stupid. Hannah's career is about to take off, and you don't want to be the one who ruins it for her. As the door clicked shut behind him, I sank into the chair Hannah had vacated. My reflection stared back at me. The quiet sister, the sensible one, the one who was supposed to be content staying in the shadows. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. It was time to remind everyone that even quiet people have voices, and mine was about to get very, very loud. Victoria's apartment became my sanctuary over the next few days. I couldn't bear to be in the studio where Hannah was recording my song. Couldn't stomach watching her social media explode with praise for her breakthrough single. You need to eat something, Victoria said, sliding a plate of toast across her kitchen counter. Starving yourself won't fix this. I pushed the plate away. I need to fix this. But how? Nobody's going to believe me over Hannah. She's got Leon, the label, everyone wrapped around her finger. Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her eyes widened. Speaking of Hannah, She turned the screen toward me. My sister was doing a live interview, wearing the same necklace I'd given her for her birthday last year. The song came from a very personal place, Hannah was saying, her eyes misting up perfectly on cue. Losing our father last year, it just poured out of me one night. Music has always been my way of processing grief. The mug in my hand shattered against the wall before I even realized I'd thrown it. "Okay," Victoria said, grabbing paper towels. "That's it. We're done playing defense. Call Chase." "Chase? The producer?" "He's been trying to work with you for months. Hannah and Leon kept blocking it, remember? Maybe it's time to find out why." My hands shook as I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. "Jennifer, this is unexpected. Chase, I need your help. That song Hannah's performing? It's mine. I can prove it." Silence stretched for a moment. Then, "Meet me at Riverside Coffee in an hour. Come alone." The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Chase sat in a corner booth, 2 coffees already waiting. He looked exactly like his producer headshot, salt and pepper hair, kind eyes behind thick-rimmed glasses. "Show me," he said as I sat down. I pulled out my phone, opened my voice memos and played the original demo I'd recorded in my bedroom. My voice, raw and untrained but honest, filled our little corner. When it finished, Chase leaned back. "I knew it," he said. "The lyrics were too intimate, too personal for Hannah. She's a performer, not a poet." He studied me. "Why didn't you fight for it?" "I tried, but Leon Whitney is a shark who cares about numbers, not nurturing talent." Chase pulled out his laptop. "Listen to this." He played a track, something haunting and beautiful. "Who is that?" I asked. "Noel Wilkins. He's been underground for a while, but he's planning a comeback. And he needs a songwriter." My heart skipped. "You want me to write for him?" "I want you to work with him privately. No contracts, no Leon, no paper trail. Yet," Chase's eyes glinted, "build something undeniable then, when the time is right." "We reveal everything," I finished, understanding dawning. "Exactly, but Jennifer," his expression turned serious, "this won't be easy. Hannah and Leon will try to shut it down if they find out. Are you ready for that fight?" I thought about Hannah's interview, about her wearing my necklace while claiming my pain as her own. More than ready. That night, I got a text from my mom. "Hannah's song is beautiful, sweetheart. Your father would be so proud of both his girls." I didn't respond. Instead, I called Victoria. "I'm in," I said when she answered. "Chase is setting up a meeting with Noel Wilkins. We're going to work in secret." "Noel Wilkins? The guy who disappeared after that scandal with his old label?" "That's him. Chase thinks we're a perfect match." "Perfect for what exactly?" I smiled into the phone. "For showing everyone what really happens when you steal from the quiet girl." A knock at my door made me jump. Hannah stood there when I opened it, looking uncertain. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Now you want to talk?" "I saw Mum's text. You didn't respond." She stepped inside uninvited. "Are you really going to punish the whole family because you're mad at me?" "Mad at you?" I laughed. "Hannah, you stole my story about Dad. You're performing it like it's your pain, your loss. That's not anger, that's betrayal." "I'm making it successful. The label loves it, the fans love it. Get out. Jen, get out." After she left, I texted Chase. "When can I meet Noel?" His response came quickly. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Studio B at Blackwood Records. Come ready to work." I looked at my reflection in the window, at the quiet girl everyone underestimated. "Ready to work," I whispered to myself. "Ready to fight." Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Blackwood Records Studio B felt different from the polished spaces I was used to. No fancy artwork on the walls, no expensive coffee machine in the corner, just well-worn equipment and a lingering scent of stale cigarettes. Noel Wilkins sat at the mixing board, his back to me when I entered. He didn't turn around. "You're Jennifer?" His voice was rougher than I expected. "Yes." Chase says a lot of things. He swiveled his chair around. Dark eyes studied me from beneath messy black hair. "He says you're worth my time, that you've got something real. I pulled my notebook from my bag. I have songs. I don't want to see your songs. He stood up, towering over me. I want to know why you're here. Because my sister stole my work. No. He stepped closer. Why are you really here? Revenge, justice, fame? I'm here because music is the only thing that makes sense to me anymore. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Because when my dad died, songs were the only way I could breathe. And Hannah took that breath and sold it like it was hers. Noel's expression softened slightly. Play something. Not the stolen song. Something new. I sat at the piano in the corner, my fingers hovering over the keys. The melody came naturally, something I'd been working on since the showcase, raw and angry and hurt. When I finished, the silence felt heavy. Again, Noel said, but this time don't hold back. I played it again, letting my voice crack on the high notes, letting the anger seep through. When I looked up, Noel was smiling. Now that, he said, is worth my time. He told me his story as we worked. How his former producer had stolen his songs, claimed Noel was just the voice. How the industry had believed the producer over him. Is that why you disappeared? I asked, adjusting a chord progression. I disappeared because I was angry. Stupid. He shook his head. Should have fought back instead of running. And now? Now I'm ready. Question is, are you? He played back what we'd recorded. Because this plan of Chase's, it's going to get ugly. It's already ugly. I showed him Hannah's latest Instagram post. Her performing my song at another showcase. The comments gushing about her songwriting talent. Your sister's good, he admitted. The way she sells those lyrics. She almost makes me believe they're hers. That's what makes it worse. She takes something real and makes it performative. We worked until evening, crafting something new, something that couldn't be mistaken for Hannah's style. As I packed up, Noel stopped me. One condition, he said. No more playing small. If we do this, you have to be willing to step into the spotlight. No hiding behind other voices. I'm not ready for... Neither was I at first. He handed me a flash drive. Listen to these. My first demos. Scared, uncertain, raw, just like you, but real. My phone buzzed. Leon calling. I declined it. He won't stop, you know, Noel warned. The minute he suspects something, let him try. I surprised myself with my conviction. I'm done being the quiet one. Victoria was waiting outside the studio. Well, how is he? Intense, broken, perfect. I smiled. We're doing this. My phone buzzed again. A text from Hannah. Where are you? Leon's freaking out. Says you're not answering his calls. Don't do anything stupid, Jen. Delete it, Noel said, appearing behind me. No distractions. Tomorrow, same time. I nodded, then deleted the message without responding. That night, I listened to Noel's demos. His voice, younger and unsure, sang about betrayal and loss and finding strength. The final track was different. A voice memo. Music isn't just about talent, his recorded voice said. It's about truth. They can steal our songs, but they can't steal our truth. Remember that, Jennifer. I opened my notebook and started writing, the words flowing easier than they had in weeks. This wasn't just about exposing Hannah anymore. It was about finding my voice, really finding it, and making sure it was too loud to ignore. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Chase. How did it go with Noel? I replied. We're ready. What's next? His response came quickly. Awards ceremony is in 6 weeks. That's our stage. That's when everyone learns the truth. 6 weeks to create something undeniable. 6 weeks to find my courage. 6 weeks to change everything. I looked at my reflection in the window again, but this time I didn't see the quiet girl anymore. I saw someone ready to make some noise. 4 weeks into our secret sessions, and Hannah's version of my song was climbing the charts. I watched her perform it on morning television while Noel and I worked on our response in Studio B. She's been nominated for Best Breakthrough Artist, Victoria announced, bursting into the studio. At the Industry Choice Awards. Noel's fingers stilled on the guitar strings. Perfect. That's our moment. Our moment to what? Victoria asked. Crash her acceptance speech. Something like that. I played back our latest recording, a song that wove my stolen melody into something new, something that exposed the theft while creating its own identity. The studio door opened again. Leon walked in. Well, well. He looked around the shabby studio. This is where you've been hiding. Noel stepped between us. She's not hiding. She's working. With a has-been? Leon laughed. Jennifer, come on. Hannah's worried sick about you. The family's falling apart, and for what? So you can throw a tantrum with... He waved dismissively at Noel. This? Get out, I said quietly. Excuse me. Get out of my studio. Leon's face hardened. Your studio? This dump? You know what? Fine. Play your little rebellion game. But know this. If you try anything that hurts Hannah's career, I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. After he left, Victoria touched my arm. You okay? No. I turned to Noel. We need to work faster. We spent the next 12 hours recording, refining, building our case. Noel shared stories about his own experience with betrayal as we worked. My producer was like family, he said during a break. That's what made it worse. He kept saying it was for my own good, that I wasn't ready to be known as a songwriter. Like Leon with me. Exactly. They think they're protecting us, but really they're just controlling us. He played a few chords. The industry's full of people who mistake ownership for mentorship. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Family dinner tonight. No excuses. We need to talk about this. Go, Noel said. Family's important, even when they're wrong. The house I grew up in felt smaller now. Hannah's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Finally, she said, pulling me into a hug. My girls are home. Hannah sat at the dining table looking uncomfortable. Hey, sis. Hannah. Mom served Dad's favourite pasta recipe. A peace offering. This has gone on long enough, she said. Your sisters, whatever this is about. It's about theft, I cut in. About betrayal. It's about opportunity, Hannah countered. About not letting pride get in the way of success. Pride? You stole my song about Dad. I made it successful. Look what's happening. The nominations, the recognition. This is what Dad would have wanted. Don't, I stood up. Don't you dare use him to justify this. Girls, Mom pleaded, please. You want to know what Dad would have wanted? I continued. He would have wanted honesty. Remember what he always said about music? About how it should come from truth. Hannah's face fell. Jen, Save it. I headed for the door. You'll hear the truth soon enough. Everyone will. Back at the studio, Noel was still working. He looked up as I entered. Family dinner go well? About as well as yours probably did. He nodded, understanding. Listen to this. He played our latest version, now with added layers, harmonies that highlighted the original melody's theft while creating something hauntingly new. It's perfect, I whispered. Almost. It needs one more thing. He handed me headphones. Your voice, no hiding this time. I stepped into the booth, heart pounding. As the music started, I closed my eyes and thought of Dad, of how he'd taught both Hannah and me to play guitar, of how he'd always said music was about honesty before anything else. When I finished, I opened my eyes to find Noel grinning. That's it, he said. That's our weapon. My phone lit up. Another text from Hannah. Whatever you're planning, please don't. We can fix this another way. 2 weeks until the awards, Noel said, watching me read the message. No turning back now. I deleted Hannah's text without responding. No turning back. As I left the studio that night, Leon was waiting by my car. Last chance, he said. Walk away now. Let your sister have her moment. I met his gaze. You know what, Leon? You were right about one thing. I'm not ready for the spotlight. I got into my car. I was born for it. His face in my rearview mirror as I drove away told me everything. The war was about to begin. Ms. Santiago? The voice caught me off guard as I left Studio B. A young woman with a press badge stepped out of the shadows. "I'm Sydney from Music Weekly. Can we talk?" I tried to brush past her. No comment. "I know about the original demo." She kept pace with me. "The one you recorded in your bedroom the night after your father's funeral." That stopped me. "How did you—" "I'm good at my job." Sydney pulled out her phone. "And I'm very interested in why your sister's breakthrough hit sounds remarkably similar to a voice memo you sent to 3 friends 6 months ago." Noel appeared behind us. Inside. Now. In the studio, Sydney laid out her evidence. Screenshots, timestamps, old social media posts where I'd referenced working on a special song about Dad. "Why are you showing us this?" Noel asked. "Because I hate frauds." Sydney's eyes flashed. "And because every great story needs proof." I exchanged looks with Noel. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Let me help. I can build the paper trail, document everything. When you make your move at the awards show, you'll need more than just your word against hers." Before I could respond, my phone rang. Victoria. "Turn on entertainment tonight, now." Noel flipped on the studio's small TV. Hannah was being interviewed wearing a locket with Dad's picture in it. My locket. "The song just poured out of me," she was saying. "Losing Dad. It changed everything. Music became my therapy." Sydney was already taking notes. "That locket isn't hers, is it?" "It was a gift from our father," I said quietly. "To me. For my birthday last year." "Perfect." Sydney smiled. "The devil's in the details." Later that night, over coffee at a quiet diner, Sydney showed me her draft article. "I won't publish until after the awards show," she promised. "But everything's ready. The timeline, the evidence, even interviews with people who heard your original version." "Who?" "Your barista from the coffee shop where you used to write, the guitar teacher who helped you with the bridge, small people who remember big details." Noel read over my shoulder. "This is good. Really good." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Hannah's doing a pre-awards interview tomorrow. Please come. She wants to make peace." "Don't go," Noel warned. "It's a trap." But I went anyway. The interview was at our old high school auditorium where Hannah and I used to perform in talent shows. She was already on stage when I arrived, doing sound check. "You came." Leon intercepted me at the door. "Good. Hannah has a proposition for you." On stage, Hannah spotted me and waved. "Jen, come up here." Under the bright lights, she hugged me tight. "I miss you, sis." "What do you want, Hannah?" She glanced at the waiting interviewer. "I want to make this right. Let's tell our story together. How we collaborated on the song, how it brought us closer after Dad." "Collaborated?" I stepped back. "That's your solution? More lies?" "It's not a lie. We've always made music together. This is just formalizing it." "By stealing my song and now trying to steal my story too?" "Ladies," the interviewer called, "we're ready." Hannah grabbed my hand. "Please, Jen, we can split the credit, split everything. Just don't..." "Don't what? Don't tell the truth?" Leon stepped onto the stage. "Think carefully about your next move, Jennifer. Some bridges once burned." I pulled away from Hannah. "You're wearing my locket." She touched it defensively. "I just borrowed it for..." "Keep it. Keep everything." I headed for the exit. But remember this moment, when you had a chance to tell the truth and chose not to. Sydney was waiting outside. "How'd it go?" "They offered to split the credit." "And?" I smiled. "Let's add it to your article. Show how they tried to buy my silence." Back at Studio B, Noel was working on final touches for our awards show performance. He looked up as I entered. "They tried to bribe you, didn't they?" "With my own song." I sat at the piano. "Play it again. I want to make it perfect." As we worked, Sydney set up her recording equipment. "For posterity," she said. "When this story breaks, people will want to know every detail." My phone lit up with texts. From Mom, from Hannah, from Leon. I turned it off. "1 week until the awards," Noel said. "You ready?" I thought about Hannah wearing my locket, telling my story, living my truth. More than ready. It's time everyone heard the real song. The real story, the real me. The night before the awards show, I couldn't sleep. Victoria found me at Dad's grave, sitting cross-legged with my guitar. Thought I'd find you here, she said, sitting beside me. Noel's looking everywhere for you. Final rehearsal, remember? I keep thinking about what Dad would say. I strummed quietly about all of this. He'd say, Jennifer. Hannah's voice cut through the darkness. She stood a few feet away, still in her rehearsal clothes. We need to talk. Victoria stood protectively. I think you've said enough. Please, Hannah's voice cracked. 5 minutes. Alone. After Victoria reluctantly left, Hannah sat where she had been. Neither of us spoke for a moment, both staring at Dad's headstone. Remember when we used to sing his favourite songs here? Hannah finally said. Before you decided fame was more important than truth? That's not fair. No. I turned to face her. Then give me back my locket. My song. My story. She touched the locket at her neck. I can't. The label Leon, everything's in motion, the nominations. Built on lies. Built on talent, mine and yours. She grabbed my hand. Please don't do whatever you're planning tomorrow. We can figure this out. Like you figured out how to steal my song. I made it successful. The whole industry is talking about it. About us. About you. I pulled my hand away. They're talking about you. My phone buzzed. Noel calling. Hannah saw his name and laughed bitterly. So that's your revenge? Working with another failed artist? No. I stood up. My revenge is the truth, and tomorrow everyone will hear it. Back at Studio B, Noel was pacing. Where were you? We need to... Play it again, I interrupted. One more time. He studied my face, then nodded. The music filled the room. Our answer to Hannah's theft, our weapon of truth. It's ready, he said when it ended. We're ready. Sydney burst in, waving her phone. You need to see this. Hannah just went live on Instagram. We huddled around her screen. Hannah was in her bedroom crying. I just want my sister back, she was saying. Music was our connection to Dad, and now she's trying to destroy everything because of jealousy. Turn it off, I said. Wait, Sydney was typing furiously. The comments, people are taking sides. This could work in our favour. The bigger the drama now, the bigger the impact tomorrow, Noel finished. My phone lit up with a text from Leon. Last chance. Back off now, or your career is over before it begins. I showed it to Noel. He smiled grimly. He's scared. Good. Victoria returned with coffee and news. Security schedule for tomorrow. I got it from my friend who works at the venue. We spread the papers across the mixing board, planning every detail. The performance order changed, Sydney noted. Hannah's acceptance speech, they're assuming she'll win, is right before the final commercial break. Perfect timing, Noel said. Right when everyone's watching. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. Whatever's happening between you girls, please don't let it happen in public. Dad wouldn't want this. Dad wouldn't want lies, I whispered. Dawn was breaking when we finally finished rehearsing. Victoria hugged me goodbye. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense. But as I headed for my car, Hannah was waiting in the parking lot. One last time, she said. Don't do this. Or what? Or I'll tell everyone how you've been spiraling since Dad died. How you're confused, mixing up memories, how the song was always mine, and you just helped with some lyrics. The slap echoed in the empty lot. My hand stung as Hannah touched her cheek in shock. That's how far you'll go? I asked. Gaslighting your own sister? I'm protecting everything we've built. No, you're protecting yourself. And tomorrow, that protection ends. As she drove away, Noel appeared beside me. You okay? No. I watched Hannah's taillights disappear. But I will be. After tomorrow. Get some sleep, he said. The war starts in 12 hours. Back home, I opened my laptop and found an old video. Dad teaching Hannah and me to play guitar. Both of us laughing as we struggled with the chords. Music is truth, he was saying. Never forget that, girls. I closed the laptop and picked up my guitar. The sun was rising, painting my room in shades of gold. Tomorrow the truth would finally have its moment in the spotlight, and this time I wouldn't be hiding in the shadows. The Industry Choice Awards buzzed with nervous energy. From my hiding spot backstage, I watched Hannah work the red carpet, wearing my locket and a confident smile. 5 minutes. Noel whispered, adjusting his earpiece. Sydney's in position. Victoria squeezed my hand. Security's distracted. We're clear. The ceremony began. I watched on the backstage monitor as award after award was presented. Hannah sat in the front row, practicing her acceptance speech. Best Breakthrough Artist is up next, Sydney murmured through our earpieces. Everyone in position? My phone buzzed. Leon, I see you backstage. Don't be stupid. And the winner for Best Breakthrough Artist is… The presenter paused dramatically. Hannah Santiago. The audience erupted in applause. Hannah hugged Leon, then made her way to the stage, tears already glistening. Now, Noel commanded. I stepped into position behind the curtain as Hannah began her speech. This song came from the deepest part of my heart, she was saying. Losing our father. The first notes of our remix cut through her words. Hannah froze mid-sentence as my voice from the original demo filled the auditorium. What's happening? She whispered into the microphone. The curtain rose behind her. I stood there, guitar in hand, singing the truth. The audience fell silent as the two versions played together. Her polished theft and my raw original, weaving together in damning harmony. Hannah spun around. Jen, don't… I stepped forward, still singing, and unclasped her necklace, my locket, letting it fall between us. The cameras caught everything. Security! Leon shouted from the audience, but Sydney was already on stage with her press badge, filming everything. Other reporters followed. I switched to our new version, the song Noel and I had crafted. Hannah stood frozen as I sang about betrayal, about stolen grief, about a sister who valued fame over truth. The audience began to murmur as understanding dawned. Phones came out, recording everything. That's enough! Leon rushed the stage, but Noel blocked his path. Let her finish, he growled. I locked eyes with Hannah as I sang the final verse, words about forgiveness, about the cost of lies, about the weight of our father's memory. When the last note faded, the silence was deafening. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Soon the whole auditorium was on their feet, not for Hannah's performance, but for the truth they'd just witnessed. Hannah grabbed the microphone. This is ridiculous. She's just jealous. Play it, Sydney called. On the giant screens above the stage, a video montage began. My original demo recording, time-stamped months before Hannah's version. Text messages between Hannah and Leon plotting to take the song. Social media posts where I'd mentioned writing it. Stop this, Leon demanded, but the evidence kept coming. The guitar teacher describing how I'd worked on the bridge, the barista confirming I'd written it in his cafe, Hannah's own Instagram live from the night before, admitting there was a dispute over the song's ownership. Hannah turned to me, mascara running. You've ruined everything. No, I said into my microphone. You did that when you stole my truth. Security finally reached the stage, but it was too late. The story was out. Phones were buzzing with notifications as Sydney's article went live. Hannah? A reporter called out. Is it true you stole your sister's song? Another voice. Did you knowingly perform stolen material? And another. Was this all a publicity stunt? Through my earpiece, Victoria whispered, Your mum's here, front row. I found her in the audience, tears streaming down her face. She nodded once, a gesture of understanding, of support. Leon tried damage control. Ladies and gentlemen, this is clearly a family matter that you helped orchestrate, Noel cut in, his voice carrying, just like you did to me 5 years ago. More murmurs, more cameras, more truth. Hannah fled the stage. I watched her go, the Best Breakthrough Artist Award, abandoned at the podium. Jennifer, Sydney called out. Would you like to perform the real version, the original? The audience cheered their encouragement. I looked at Noel, who nodded. Show them who you really are. So I sat at the piano and played, really played, the song I'd written for Dad. No theatrics, no performance, just truth. When I finished, the standing ovation wasn't just for the music. It was for the courage to stand up, to speak out, to reclaim what was stolen. As the applause washed over me, I picked up my locket from where it had fallen. Inside, Dad's picture smiled at me. Music is truth, I whispered his words. And finally, everyone knew mine. The morning after the awards show, I sat in Studio B, watching the chaos unfold on my phone. Song theft and sister betrayal were trending. Hannah's record label had issued a formal apology. Leon's other clients were dropping him by the hour. Victoria burst in, waving a contract. 3 labels want to sign you, real deals, with full creative control. She's not signing anything today, Noel said, entering behind her. Let the dust settle first. My phone rang. Hannah's number. I'd been avoiding her calls since last night. Answer it, Victoria urged. It's time. Hannah's voice was raw. Can we meet? Please. I suggested Dad's favourite diner. When I arrived, Hannah sat in our old booth, no makeup, no styling, just my sister looking lost. I brought something, she said as I sat down. She slid a familiar notebook across the table, my songwriting journal. I took it from your room last summer, that's how I found the song. Why? Because you were always better at it than me. Her hands shook as she stirred her coffee. The writing, the emotion. I just wanted to be seen like that, to matter like that. You mattered to me, to Dad. Did I? He spent hours teaching you guitar, helping with your compositions. I was just the voice. So you stole my voice instead? The waitress brought our usual orders. She'd known us since we were kids. Your performance last night was beautiful, Jennifer. Your father would have been proud. After she left, Hannah wiped her eyes. She's right. He would have been proud of you. I got lost somewhere between wanting success and needing validation. And Leon? Dropped me this morning, along with the label. She laughed bitterly. Karma's quick these days. Sydney appeared at our table, notebook in hand. Ready for the follow-up interview? I looked at Hannah. She nodded. For the next hour, we told the whole story. Not just the theft, but the years leading up to it. The pressure, the competition, the grief of losing Dad. Last question, Sydney said. What happens now? Hannah reached across the table, taking my hand. Now I earn back what I lost. Not the career, my sister. As Sydney packed up, Noel and Victoria joined us. The studio's booked for today, Noel said, if you're ready. For what? Hannah asked. I pulled out my phone, showing her the song I'd been working on since last night. It's about sisters, about forgiveness, about finding our own voices. Together? Hope flickered in her eyes. Together. But this time we do it right. At the studio, Hannah stood behind the microphone, vulnerable without her usual performance armour. I sat at the piano. From the top, Noel directed. We played through the song, my words, both our voices, weaving together like they used to when we were kids singing in the backyard. That's the one, Victoria whispered. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Come home for dinner, both of you. At home, Mom had Dad's guitar on the table. He wanted you both to have this, she said, to share it, like you used to share everything. Hannah touched the strings gently. I forgot how to do that. Share. So, remember, I said, sitting beside her, we can write new songs, tell new stories. Real ones this time. Sydney's article went live that evening. Sister Act, the truth behind the song, theft scandal. But it wasn't about the scandal anymore. It was about redemption, about 2 sisters finding their way back to each other through music. The industry calls started coming. Talk shows, record deals, documentary requests. But Hannah and I had other plans. We're booking Dad's favourite venue, I told Noel. Small show, new songs, real stories. Both of you. Both of us. Different songs, different styles, but sharing the stage, like we should have from the start. The last person to leave the studio that night was Leon, trying one last time to spin the situation. Girls, we could market this. The reconciliation, the comeback. Goodbye, Leon, Hannah and I said together. Later at Dad's grave, we played our new song, just us 2 sisters, 2 guitars, and the truth. Think he's listening? Hannah asked. I opened the locket, now hanging where it belonged around my neck. He always was. We just weren't always singing honestly. We are now. And that was the real breakthrough. Not the awards or the acclaim, but the simple power of two sisters finding their voices again, together and separately in harmony and in truth. Just like Dad taught us. Just like we were always meant to be.
I stared at my reflection, adjusting my blazer for the 10th time that morning. The promotion announcement would be made in exactly 2 hours, and for once, I wouldn't be standing in anyone's shadow, especially not Louisa's. My name is Amber, and I've spent 32 years being the other daughter. The one who wasn't quite as charming, quite as beautiful, or quite as perfect as my younger sister. But today was different. Today was mine. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, Amber! I heard the big news! Louisa's voice dripped with honey, the same sweetness that had everyone wrapped around her finger since childhood. How did you? I started, but she cut me off. Oh, you know me. I have my ways. She giggled. I'm actually heading to your office today. Roger invited me to lunch. Isn't that wonderful? My stomach twisted. Roger, my boss, had been oddly interested in my sister ever since she showed up at last year's company Christmas party. Why are you having lunch with my boss, Louisa? Don't be so suspicious, silly. Can't I celebrate my big sister's success? The memory of my 8th birthday party flashed through my mind. Louisa, then 4, somehow managing to make even that day about her by performing an impromptu dance recital that had all our relatives cooing and forgetting about my cake. Sure, I replied, trying to keep my voice neutral. I've got to go. Big day ahead. Of course. Mom and Dad are so excited too. Though Mom did mention she wished you'd done your hair differently for the announcement photos. You know that straight look doesn't suit your face shape, darling. I hung up before she could continue, my hands shaking slightly. The same old Louisa, always knowing exactly where to stick the knife. My phone buzzed again. A text from Quinn, my best friend. Ready to crush it today, boss lady? I smiled, typing back. Born ready. Drinks later? Obviously. Someone's got to help you celebrate properly. The drive to work was a blur of nervous energy and coffee sips. As I walked through the office doors, David from accounting caught up with me. There's our new senior operations director, he beamed, falling into step beside me. It's not official yet, I reminded him, but couldn't help grinning. Please, it's been obvious for months. You practically rebuilt the entire operations system single-handedly. Roger would be insane not to promote you. The elevator dinged open and we stepped in. David pressed the button for the 4th floor. Speaking of Roger, he lowered his voice. Heard some interesting chatter from HR. Apparently, there's been some unusual activity in the accounts lately. Before I could ask what he meant, the doors opened, and there stood Roger himself, his expensive suit perfectly pressed as always. Amber, just the person I wanted to see. His smile seemed oddly strained. Could you come to my office? There are some details about the announcement we need to discuss. I followed him, my heels clicking against the marble floors. Through the glass walls, I could see the office buzzing with anticipation. Someone had even brought in champagne. Roger's office was at the end of the hall, with the best view of the city. As we approached, I noticed movement inside, a familiar figure in a red dress. Surprise! Louisa spun around in Roger's chair, her perfect curls bouncing. I came early. I just couldn't wait to see my sister's big moment. Roger's hand pressed against my back, guiding me inside. Louisa was just telling me the most fascinating story about your childhood ballet recital. The one where you fell off the stage? I felt my face burn. That was 25 years ago. But so memorable. Louisa stood up, smoothing her dress. Roger and I were just discussing how important grace under pressure is in leadership roles. Something in their shared glance made my skin crawl. The champagne bottles outside suddenly seemed premature, and David's words about unusual account activity echoed in my mind. The announcement isn't for another hour, I said carefully. Perhaps we should— Oh, about that, Roger interrupted, his voice taking on an edge I'd never heard before. There have been some changes to the plan. Why don't you sit down? As I sank into the chair across from his desk, Watching Louisa perch herself on its edge with that familiar victorious smile, I realized this wasn't going to be my day after all. But unlike all those times in childhood, this time I wasn't going to just accept standing in her shadow. This time, I was going to fight back. Due to recent performance concerns, Roger cleared his throat, we've decided to restructure the Senior Operations Director position. I gripped the armrests of my chair. Performance concerns? My last review was exemplary. Yes, well, Roger shuffled some papers on his desk, not meeting my eyes. Louisa has brought some issues to my attention. Louisa, I turned to my sister. What could you possibly know about my work performance? She leaned forward, her perfectly manicured hand patting my knee. Oh, sweetie, I was just looking out for you. Remember that merger proposal you worked on last month? The one you were so proud of? My blood ran cold. I'd only mentioned that proposal to her during a family dinner. Roger and I got talking, she continued, and I remembered how you said you'd borrowed some ideas from your old company's confidential files. I just couldn't bear the thought of you getting in trouble later. That's not what I said! I stood up so quickly, my chair rolled backward. I said I used my experience from previous projects. There's nothing confidential about that. Roger raised his hands placatingly. Amber, please. This isn't just about the merger proposal. There are other concerns. What other concerns? I've doubled our operational efficiency. I've brought in 3 major clients. You've also been rather aggressive in your management style, Louisa interjected smoothly. Remember poor Jenny from accounting? Roger tells me she almost quit after your confrontation about those missing receipts. Jenny was embezzling company funds. I caught her and reported it, as was my duty. Perhaps, Roger said, but there are ways to handle these situations with more finesse, which is why we're excited to announce that Louisa will be joining our team as a special consultant for corporate culture and communications. The room spun. She doesn't even work in this industry. I've been taking some online courses. Louisa smiled brightly. And Roger thinks my people skills will be invaluable. I bet he does, I thought, watching how close they were standing. So what happens to my promotion? I asked, already knowing the answer. We'll be creating a new position for you, Roger said. Assistant Operations Manager, reporting directly to the new Senior Director once we find the right candidate. A demotion. They were actually demoting me. My phone buzzed. Quinn asking if I wanted her to grab lunch later. The champagne bottles outside caught my eye again, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I need some air, I muttered, heading for the door. Oh, and Amber, Louisa called after me. Mom wanted me to remind you about dinner on Sunday. She's making your favorite. Well, what she thinks is your favorite. I told her you actually prefer chicken to salmon now, but you know how she never listens to me about you. I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up my breakfast. As I rinsed my mouth, memories flooded back. Louisa accidentally spilling wine on my graduation dress. Louisa dating my high school crush 2 days after he broke up with me. Louisa somehow always being there when things went wrong in my life. The bathroom door opened, and David slipped in, ignoring the women's room sign. I saw what happened, he said quietly. You okay? I laughed bitterly. Okay? My sister just torpedoed my career and is probably sleeping with my boss. I'm fantastic. About that. David glanced around before lowering his voice. Remember what I said about unusual account activity? I've been tracking some strange transfers. Large sums moving through shell companies, all authorized by Roger. I straightened up. What kind of transfers? The kind that get people fired or arrested. I haven't gathered enough evidence yet, but the door started to open, and David quickly ducked into a stall. Louisa walked in, her red dress a slash of color in the sterile bathroom. There you are. I was worried about you, running off like that. Sure you were. She sighed dramatically. I know you're upset, but this is really for the best. You've always pushed yourself too hard, tried to be something you're not. This way, you can focus on what you're good at, supporting others. I met her eyes in the mirror. Like I've always supported you? Exactly, she beamed, missing or ignoring my sarcasm. Now I should get back. Roger and I have lots to discuss about the new corporate culture initiatives. After she left, David emerged from the stall. I have access to the financial records, he whispered. If you want to know what they're really up to. I thought about all the times I'd taken the high road, all the times I'd let Louisa win to keep the peace. Not this time. Show me everything, I said. Late that night, David and I hunched over his laptop in an empty conference room, surrounded by spreadsheets and financial reports. See these transactions? David pointed to a series of numbers. Every month, exactly $250,000 gets transferred to this offshore account, then split into smaller amounts and distributed to these shell companies. And Roger authorizes all of these? His digital signature is on everything. But here's where it gets interesting. David pulled up another document. 3 months ago, one of these companies hired a new consultant. Look at the name. My stomach dropped. Louisa Russell Consulting, LLC. Registered just 4 months ago. She's been getting monthly payments of $50,000 for strategic advisory services. The door handle jiggled, and we froze. I quickly switched off the laptop screen as Roger's assistant walked in. Oh, sorry, I didn't know anyone was still here, she said, grabbing a forgotten coffee mug. After she left, I let out a shaky breath. We need somewhere safer to do this. My place? David suggested. I have everything backed up there anyway. An hour later, we sat in David's apartment, papers spread across his dining table. Quinn perched on the counter, nursing a glass of wine. So your sister's not just sleeping with your boss, she's helping him embezzle company money? Quinn whistled. That's low, even for Louisa. We don't know they're sleeping together, I said automatically, then caught their skeptical looks. Okay, they probably are. The question is, David said, what's the money actually for? These shell companies all seem to connect to competitors in some way. My phone buzzed, a text from Louisa. Having dinner with Roger. He has such wonderful ideas for the company's future. You'll love working with both of us. I threw my phone onto the couch. I might have a way to find out more, Quinn said slowly. My cousin works at the SEC. If there's any ongoing investigations into these companies. That could take too long, I replied. Roger's probably already working on pushing me out completely. We need something concrete and fast. David's fingers flew across his keyboard. Roger keeps his most sensitive files on an encrypted drive in his office. If we could access that. How? He never leaves his office unlocked. Quinn grinned. Doesn't he have that charity golf tournament tomorrow? The next day, I watched through the glass walls as Roger left for his tournament, Louisa on his arm in a tiny golf skirt. As soon as they disappeared, I headed to his office. Security cameras? I asked David through my earpiece. Looped. You have 20 minutes before the system resets. My hands shook as I used the master key I'd borrowed from facilities maintenance. Inside Roger's office, everything screamed wealth and power, from the leather chairs to the abstract art probably worth more than my annual salary. The drive should be in his desk drawer, David's voice crackled. It's USB, black with a red stripe. I found it exactly where he said, but as I reached for it, voices approached. Just forgot my lucky golf ball, Roger's voice carried down the hall. Hide! David hissed unnecessarily. I ducked behind the massive leather couch just as Roger and Louisa entered. Are you sure about this? Louisa's voice was uncertain for once. What if she finds something? Impossible. Everything's encrypted. Besides, your sister's always been predictable. She'll accept the demotion like she accepts everything else. I don't know. She seemed different yesterday. Trust me, sweetheart. By the time we close this deal with Global Tech, we'll both be too rich to care what Amber thinks. My heart pounded so loud, I was sure they'd hear it. Finally, after what felt like hours, they left. I waited 30 seconds, then grabbed the drive and ran. Back at David's apartment, we stared at the encrypted files. I can't crack this, David admitted after an hour. We need help. I might know someone, Quinn said. Remember Kyson? He's head of ethics and compliance now. He's basically a computer genius. Can we trust him? He's been trying to catch Roger in something shady for months. But, Quinn hesitated, if we bring him in, there's no going back. This becomes official. I thought about Roger's smugness, Louisa's constant betrayals, all the times I'd swallowed my pride and stepped aside. Make the call. As Quinn dialed, I got another text from Louisa. Had the most amazing day with Roger. He says you seemed upset yesterday. Remember what Mom always says, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I looked at the drive in my hand, thinking of their conversation in the office. Whatever deal they were planning with Global Tech, whatever they were embezzling money for, I was going to expose it all. Time to show them just how unpredictable I could be. Kyson's office felt like a confessional booth. Small, private, and thick with tension. He studied the data on his screen, occasionally muttering under his breath. This is bigger than corporate embezzlement, he finally said. Roger's been selling company secrets to Global Tech through these shell companies. Your sister's been acting as the go-between. Can you prove it? I leaned forward. Give me an hour with this drive. He cracked his knuckles. But Amber, once I start digging officially, I can't stop. Are you ready for what this could do to your sister? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Roger's name. Where are you? His voice was sharp. We have a department meeting. On my way, I said, trying to sound normal. Bring the quarterly reports. And Amber, let's discuss your recent, unauthorized overtime hours. My blood ran cold. Had he noticed the security footage? The department meeting was excruciating. Roger sat at the head of the table, Louisa perched beside him like a queen. She'd somehow acquired a company laptop and badge already. As part of our new corporate culture initiative, Louisa announced, we'll be conducting detailed reviews of all departmental activities, starting with operations. Speaking of operations, Roger added, Amber, those overtime hours you logged last week, what exactly were you working on? Project documentation, I said smoothly, for the handover you requested. Interesting. He shared a look with Louisa. Because IT reported some unusual access attempts to secure servers during those hours. Really? I forced a confused smile. Must be a system glitch. Must be, Louisa agreed sweetly. Though you do look tired, sis. Maybe you're working too hard. Mom's always worried about your stress levels. After the meeting, David caught up with me in the break room. They know something's up, he whispered. Roger's been asking a T to audit all recent system access. We need more time. I grabbed my coffee. Kyson's still working on... Working on what? We spun around. Louisa stood in the doorway, her head tilted innocently. The quarterly reports. I recovered quickly. Kyson from Ethics needs them for compliance review. Ethics? Something flickered across Louisa's face. Why would Ethics need operational reports? Standard procedure, David jumped in. New company policy. Really? Louisa's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'll have to discuss that with Roger. We wouldn't want anyone wasting time on unnecessary reviews. After she left, David grabbed my arm. We need to warn Kyson. But when we reached his office, it was empty. His computer was dark, and the encrypted drive was gone. Looking for this? Roger's voice came from behind us. He held up the drive, Louisa at his side. Interesting choice of lunch break activity, Amber. Corporate espionage doesn't suit you. Neither does fraud, I shot back, or selling company secrets. Careful, Louisa warned. These kinds of accusations could really damage your career. And your severance package. Where's Kyson? David demanded. Called away to an urgent meeting, Roger smiled. He'll be quite busy for the next few days. Now, about your employment status. You can't fire me without cause, I said, and you can't hide what you're doing forever. Hide? Louisa laughed. Amber, sweetie, you always see conspiracies where there's just business. Remember when you thought I deliberately ruined your college interview? Sometimes things just don't go your way. The interview you showed up to drunk, making a scene about your boyfriend dumping you? That wasn't an accident, Louisa. None of this is. Roger stepped between us. I'm being generous here, Amber. Resign quietly, sign an NDA, and we'll provide excellent references. Fight this, and what? Quinn's voice rang out. She stood in the doorway, phone raised. Sorry, what were you saying about NDAs and threats? The recording's a little unclear. Roger's face darkened. This is a private conversation. Not anymore. Quinn smiled. By the way, Kyson's not at a meeting. He's with the board of directors. Turns out he made copies of everything before you grabbed that drive. Louisa's perfect composure cracked. You're bluffing. My phone buzzed. A text from Kyson. Board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring everything you have. They want to hear it all. I held up my phone. Want to bet? For the first time in our lives, I watched Louisa's confidence crumble. Roger grabbed his phone, barking orders as he strode away. Louisa lingered, her face a mix of anger and something else. Fear. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because, I said, it's time someone showed you what it feels like to stand in someone else's shadow. They're going to fight back hard, Kyson warned, spreading documents across my dining room table. Roger's already called his lawyers, and your sister's been reaching out to board members all afternoon. Quinn poured more wine. Let them try. We have the evidence. Evidence they'll try to discredit, David added, scrolling through his laptop. Roger's already claiming the financial records were tampered with. My phone buzzed, Mom calling for the 5th time. I declined again. Louisa called them, didn't she? Quinn guessed. Probably crying about how I'm trying to ruin her exciting new career opportunity. I rubbed my temples. She's always been good at playing the victim. Focus, Kyson interrupted. The board meeting is in 12 hours. We need to make our case bulletproof. A knock at the door made us all freeze. Through the peephole, I saw Louisa, mascara smeared. I know you're in there, she called out. Please, Amber, 5 minutes. Quinn grabbed my arm. Don't. But I was already opening the door. Louisa burst in, looking less polished than I'd ever seen her. You have to stop this. Why? Afraid of people finding out who you really are? You don't understand. She paced my living room. Roger has connections, powerful ones. If this gets out, it won't just hurt him. Should have thought of that before you helped him steal company secrets. I didn't know. She spun around. Not at first. He said he just needed someone to help smooth things over with competitors. By the time I realized what was happening. You were in too deep? Kyson asked coldly. And making too much money to care? Louisa's face crumpled. He said he loved me. Right, I laughed bitterly. Like Tommy said he loved you in high school? Right before you told him I'd been cheating on him? That was different. We were kids. And now? What's your excuse now, Louisa? She sank onto my couch. Mom and Dad will never forgive me if this goes public. That's what you're worried about? Their approval? I shook my head. You never had to worry about that. You've had it since the day you were born. That's not true. Do you know how hard it is, being the pretty one, the charming one, everyone expecting perfection all the time? David snorted. Poor you. Get out, I said quietly. You've got 12 hours to decide, Louisa. Either you come clean to the board yourself, or I'll do it for you. After she left, Kyson pulled out his phone. I recorded that whole conversation. Could be useful tomorrow. You think she'll turn on Roger? Quinn asked. No, I said. She'll do what she always does. Find a way to make herself the sympathetic character in all this. My phone buzzed again, a text from Mom. Your sister's crying her eyes out. What have you done now? Classic, Quinn muttered, reading over my shoulder. Want me to call her? Set her straight? No. I turned back to the documents. Tomorrow isn't about convincing my parents. It's about justice. We worked through the night, organizing evidence, preparing presentations. Around 3 a.m., Kyson pulled me aside. There's something you should know, he said quietly. I did some digging into Roger's connections. He's got dirt on 2 board members. They might try to shut this down before you can present everything. What kind of dirt? The kind that makes our evidence look like a parking ticket. He hesitated. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Roger's offering a pretty generous severance package. I thought about Louisa's tears, probably being performed right now for our parents. About Roger's smug confidence that I'd back down like always. What time's the meeting? 9 a.m. sharp, boardroom A. I'll be there. After everyone left, I stood at my window, watching the city lights. My phone buzzed one last time. Louisa again. I've told Roger I'm backing out. You win. Just please don't show them that recording. I'll quit, move away, whatever you want. Just don't destroy my life. For a moment, I felt a twinge of sympathy. Then I remembered every sabotaged opportunity, every orchestrated humiliation, every time she'd smiled while twisting the knife. See you tomorrow, sis, I texted back. Quinn had left a sticky note on my laptop. Remember, karma's only a bitch if you are. Make it count. I smiled, adding it to my presentation folder. Tomorrow would change everything, and for once, I wasn't going to feel guilty about standing in the spotlight. For once, Louisa would know what it felt like to be the other sister. The morning of the board meeting, I arrived early to find Roger already in the lobby, speaking intensely with two men in expensive suits. Amber! He broke into a practiced smile. Just the person I wanted to see. These gentlemen are from our legal department. They'd like a word. Actually, Kyson's voice rang out behind me. Any conversations should include the company's ethics counsel, which would be me. The lawyers exchanged glances. One stepped forward. Ms. Russell, we have a revised severance package to discuss. Triple your current salary, Roger added smoothly, plus a glowing recommendation and full benefits for 2 years. Trying to buy my silence? I clutched my presentation folder tighter. That's not going to work. Think carefully, Roger's smile tightened. Your future in this industry, is already compromised? Quinn appeared, coffee in hand. Funny, I was just talking to my cousin at the SEC about that. Roger's face darkened. This is a private matter. Not anymore. David walked up, laptop under his arm. The board's waiting. Inside the boardroom, tension crackled. 8 board members sat around the massive table, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Louisa sat in a corner, wearing a conservative black dress I'd never seen before. Before we begin, one of the lawyers stood, we should discuss the confidentiality implications. Actually, Kyson interrupted, as ethics counsel, I've already filed this case with the SEC. Confidentiality isn't an option anymore. Chaos erupted. Roger's lawyers huddled together, whispering furiously. 2 board members stood up, looking ready to leave. Sit down, a sharp voice commanded. An elderly woman at the head of the table, Margaret, the board chair, rapped her knuckles on the wood. I want to hear what she has to say. I connected my laptop to the projector, hands steady despite my racing heart. The first slide appeared, a complex web of financial transactions. Over the past year, I began, Roger Fleming has orchestrated a systematic theft of company secrets and funds. Allegations without proof, one of the lawyers interjected. Really? I clicked to the next slide. These transfers to offshore accounts, all authorized by Roger, total over $3 million. Standard consulting fees, Roger said smoothly. To shell companies you own? David stepped forward, pulling up additional documents. Companies that then transferred information to global tech? The board members leaned forward, murmuring, and let's talk about your newest consultant. I turned to Louisa, who seemed to shrink in her chair. My sister, who suddenly formed an LLC just in time to receive $50,000 monthly for undefined services. I can explain. Louisa stood up, her voice trembling. Roger told me it was all legitimate. I was just trying to help facilitate business relationships by passing confidential information to our biggest competitor. Kyson projected new documents. We have emails, Louisa, very detailed ones. This is ridiculous, Roger snapped. You can't prove. Actually, Quinn stepped forward, phone in hand. We can. Remember that golf course conversation yesterday? About being too rich to care once the global tech deal went through? I have it recorded. The color drained from Roger's face. And there's more, I continued, but suddenly the boardroom doors burst open. My mother stormed in, father trailing behind her. Stop this at once! How dare you try to humiliate your sister like this? Mrs. Russell, Margaret's voice cracked like a whip. This is a closed board meeting. Security! No, wait! Louisa jumped up. Mom, please just go. This is my fault. I did this, all of it. The room fell silent. What are you saying? Mom stared at her golden child. I helped Roger steal company secrets. Louisa's voice broke. I knew it was wrong, but the money. And he said he loved me. And I just wanted to win, I finished quietly, like always. Security arrived, escorting my parents out. Mom's face was a mask of shock and disappointment, an expression I'd seen countless times, but never directed at Louisa. Well, Margaret stood up. I believe we've seen enough. Roger, you and your lawyers can wait outside while we discuss next steps. Louisa, the SEC will want to speak with you. As they filed out, Louisa paused beside me. I really am sorry, she whispered, for everything. I didn't answer. 28 years of manipulations and betrayals couldn't be erased with one apology. Amber, Margaret called. Please stay. The board has another matter to discuss. Quinn squeezed my shoulder as she left with David and Kyson. Through the glass walls, I could see Roger being escorted out by security, Louisa following with SEC agents, and my parents watching in disbelief. For the first time in my life, all eyes were on me, and I wasn't in anyone's shadow. Well, Margaret leaned back in her chair. This has been quite the morning. The remaining board members murmured in agreement. Through the glass walls, I could see the chaos unfolding. Security escorting Roger out, SEC agents conferring with Kyson, my parents arguing with Louisa in the lobby. Your investigation was thorough, one board member noted. Perhaps too thorough. Some might say obsessive. With respect, I straightened my spine. When someone tries to destroy your career and steal from your company, thoroughness is a virtue. And the fact that it was your sister? Another member raised an eyebrow. That didn't cloud your judgment? That's exactly why my judgment wasn't clouded, I replied. I know exactly who Louisa is and what she's capable of. I've had a lifetime of experience. Margaret's lips twitched. Tell me, what would you do about global tech? Excuse me? They clearly have our proprietary information. How would you handle it? I blinked, then realized this was a test. First, I'd audit everything Roger and Louisa sent them. Then, I'd approach their board directly. They're probably unaware their executives were engaging in corporate espionage. The threat of exposure would force a settlement. And internally? Full transparency with our employees, new security protocols, and, I took a deep breath, a complete restructuring of the operations department. The boardroom door opened and Quinn burst in, ignoring the protests of security. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She held up her phone. Roger just tried to delete the entire operations server remotely. Tried? Margaret asked sharply. David caught it in time. He's locking everything down now, but that server contains all our client data, I explained to the board. If he'd succeeded, he's being arrested as we speak, Quinn added, but he's demanding to talk to you, Amber. Says he has a deal to offer. No deals. Margaret stood up. Amber, go with security to Roger's office. We need to know exactly what he had access to. In Roger's office, David was already working on Roger's computer while Kyson documented everything. His personal files are corrupted, David reported, but I found something interesting. Emails to Global Tech dating back 2 years. Louisa wasn't his first accomplice. Who was? Board member James Mitchell. That's why Roger was so confident about shutting down the investigation. My phone buzzed. Louisa calling. I declined. She's been calling nonstop, Quinn said. The SEC agents want her to wear a wire, get Roger to confess everything, She won't do it, I said. She never implicates herself. But 5 minutes later, Kyson rushed in. Your sister just agreed to cooperate. She's meeting Roger now. We crowded around Kyson's tablet, watching the live feed from Louisa's wire. Roger sat in a holding room, his perfect suit now wrinkled. Baby, you have to help me, he pleaded. Tell them it was all my idea. Like you told James Mitchell to do? Louisa's voice was steady. I found the emails, Roger. I know I wasn't the first. That was different. Was it? Was I different? Or just convenient because I was Amber's sister? Roger's face hardened. You really want to play it this way? Remember who suggested selling to Global Tech in the first place. Your fingerprints are all over this. Yes, Louisa agreed. They are. That's why I'm making a deal. The door burst open, SEC agents flooding in. Roger's face contorted as he realized what had happened. You little... The feed cut off. Well, Quinn whistled. Guess she finally picked the right side. My phone buzzed again. A message from Margaret. Board meeting, now. Back in the boardroom, Margaret stood at the head of the table. James Mitchell has resigned, she announced. Roger and Louisa will face federal charges, which leaves us with several vacant positions to fill. She turned to me. The board has voted. We'd like to offer you the position of Chief Operations Officer, effective immediately. I stared at her. CUO? But you uncovered corporate espionage, protected company assets, and demonstrated exceptional leadership under pressure. She smiled. Unless you'd prefer the assistant manager position, Roger suggested. Before I could respond, there was a commotion outside. Through the glass, I saw my parents arguing with security again. Go, Margaret nodded. Handle your family first. We'll draw up the paperwork. In the lobby, Mom looked lost. I don't understand. Louisa said, she always said. She lied, Mom. She always lies. But she's your sister. Yes, I agreed. She is. And now she's facing the consequences of her actions, just like I've faced the consequences of being her sister for 28 years. Dad touched Mom's arm. We should go home. Process this. As they left, Quinn appeared beside me. You okay? I watched my parents' retreating backs, thinking of all the times they'd believed Louisa over me. Actually, I smiled, I'm great. I have a new job to prepare for. The morning sun streamed through my new corner office windows as I reviewed the final settlement papers. Global Tech had agreed to pay triple damages, plus a public apology. Roger faced 15 years in federal prison, and Louisa had gotten a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation. A knock at my door made me look up. David entered, grinning. The new security protocols are live. No one's accessing our servers without triple authentication now. Good. I signed the last document. How's the new team settling in? They're actually excited about the changes. Transparency looks good on this company. My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn. Turn on the news. I grabbed the remote, switching on the office TV. Roger's face filled the screen as reporters swarmed him outside the courthouse. No comment, he snarled, trying to shield his face. The camera panned to Louisa, looking small in a plain blue suit. I made terrible mistakes, she was saying. I betrayed my company, my family, and myself. All I can do now is try to make it right. Think she means it? David asked. Before I could answer, my office door opened again. Mom stood there, looking uncertain. Security called up, I said. You can come in. She stepped inside, clutching her purse. Your father wanted to come, but he's still processing? She nodded, then noticed the TV. Oh. We watched in silence as Louisa was led away by her lawyers. I got your letter, Mom finally said. The letter I'd written, explaining everything. Not just Roger and Louisa, but 28 years of manipulation, favoritism, and hurt. And? I kept my voice neutral. I've been seeing a therapist. She twisted her wedding ring. She's helping me understand patterns, behaviors. She took a deep breath. Mistakes. Mom? No, let me finish. I failed you, Amber. I let Louisa's brightness blind me to her cruelty, to your pain. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Russell, the board meeting starts in 5 minutes. I have to go. I stood up. Of course. Mom turned to leave, then stopped. Would you consider having dinner with us? Just to talk? I thought about all the family dinners where I'd been invisible, all the times my achievements had been overshadowed by Louisa's latest drama. I'll think about it. In the boardroom, Margaret was reviewing the quarterly projections when my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Louisa's prison email. I know you probably won't read this, it began, but I need you to know something. You weren't the only one in a shadow. I was trapped in the person everyone expected me to be. The pretty one, the charming one, the one who could do no wrong. It was exhausting, and it made me cruel. I see that now. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know that you've always been the stronger one, the better one. I'm sorry it took prison for me to admit that. Amber? Margaret's voice snapped me back. The new organizational structure? I put my phone away and stood up, presenting the changes I'd designed. As I spoke, I saw Quinn and David through the glass walls, giving me thumbs up. Beyond them, Mom still lingered in the lobby, watching with what looked like pride. One last item, Margaret said when I finished. The Ethics Board has recommended annual reviews of all departments to prevent another Roger situation. We'd like you to oversee that initiative. I smiled. Actually, I have someone in mind for that role. I gestured to David. He's the one who first noticed the suspicious transactions. He didn't look away or make excuses. He did the right thing. Excellent choice. Margaret stood up. Well, I believe that concludes our business for today. As the board filed out, Quinn bounded in. Drinks? We're celebrating your first month as COO. Actually, I glanced at the lobby where Mom waited. I have dinner plans. Family dinner? Quinn raised an eyebrow. You sure? I looked at my phone, at Louisa's message. Then at Mom, who'd taken the first step toward change. At David, who'd risked his job to expose the truth. At Quinn, who'd never let me stand alone. Yes, I said. I'm sure. It's time to build something new. I gathered my things, feeling the weight of the corner office keys in my pocket, the respect in my colleagues' eyes, the strength in my own voice. For the first time in my life, I wasn't defined by being Louisa's sister. I was simply Amber, and that was more than enough. Coming? I asked Quinn and David. They fell into step beside me as I walked toward Mom, toward dinner, toward whatever came next. Not in anyone's shadow, but in my own light.